Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Friday of Ryan Selvey taking over Adobe Live. It's great to be back. Great to have a very exciting theme for today's, which is the professor portfolio reviews. And I had the honor and the privilege to reach out to some of my favorite teachers back from my school days, which, were 100 years ago. Um, and we are bringing on some students, and we're really excited to then also be able to um, have them have their portfolios reviewed, and then also kind of bring to light some constructive criticism, some praises, some grows and glows. Right off the bat, before I bring in our first professor, I just want to say hello to a bunch of people in the chat. So a hearty hello to Carol and Clever and Jan, Frank, Alessandra, General Kenobi, Oliver, Cody Bear, thank you for being our moderator today. If you guys are watching on Behance, the chat is also available over on YouTube as well. So if you guys are here for YouTube, it's also great to see you over on YouTube. Make sure you come on in and say hello, and it'll be a really great time. But I don't want to waste too much time because we only got an hour, and I want to be sure to give the proper space for both our teachers and our students. Our first professor that we're going to have on the show today is Andrea Pippins. She is a wonderful, phenomenal designer and illustrator. She has worked on visual poems that have been narrated by Alicia Keys. She has worked on some wonderful publications of books. She's an award-winning book author and illustrator, which is really cool. And she works in so many different mediums, does beautiful, colorful work, and I'm really excited for you guys to meet her. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her onto the stream. So please welcome Andrea Pippins. Hi.
Hey, hi.
Thank you
How
for.
are you?
It's not morning for you though, because you are overseas. Where are you based out of?
I am in Sweden, just outside of Stockholm. So for us, it's 6 p.m. So completely dark, heading into
Yeah.
the evening.
Well, then, good evening to you. And thank you for
Yes.
being here. Also, over on YouTube, hello to Homie Henry, AAR Creativo, Nick Longo, Vandal, and Ben. Thank you guys for all being here. If you guys have any questions as we kind of get into this, please let us know. But I guess I wanted to start off with you, Andrea, and
Mhm.
say, can we have your elevator pitch of yourself as an artist? I tried to give you a little bit of what I could think of off the top of my head, but love to hear it from your perspective.
Absolutely. So I work as a children's book author, illustrator, background in graphic design, and worked as a designer for several years before transitioning into full-time illustration, doing some wonderful, fun, celebratory work, celebrating voices that are often overlooked, unheard, trying to nurture my creativity by inspiring others to nurture their own through creative expression.
Yeah, perfectly said. I know. I remember one specific back uh, a few years ago. You were talking about a piece that you had that was all about the beauty of natural hair and
Mhm.
illustrating young girls and young boys to embrace their natural hair. And you brought these beautiful, colorful illustrations that you had. And that was one of many because now you have several books out. Where can we
Yes.
find your books?
Absolutely. It's funny because that was my very first book. So when I was teaching that class, and I used all of you to give me some feedback and insight. So yeah, that was my first book. But since then, have worked on 15 books, authored and illustrated five of
Wow.
those, and working on some more. But they can all be found on Amazon, local bookstores, anywhere you can purchase books. Typically, you can find my books. If you just search Andrea Pippins, a few should come up.
I mean, how remarkable is that? 15 books, though. Like, did you ever, is that ever kind of like the end goal? Like, is that something you
No,
were expecting, or is it kind of something you kind of
not
came into?
not at all. But I will say, as a young person, like early on, maybe 4 or 5, I fell in love with books, and they became my sanctuary, and loving the library, loving bookstores. So that seed was there, and it was something that I was, toying with over the years, and just, always really loving books and wanting to do at least one. I never imagined that I would have the opportunity and privilege to do 15 plus. So
That's remarkable. I mean, it makes
it's
sense.
awesome.
They make such a profound impact. I mean, I can specifically remember a lot of the books that I grew up with and how they kind of shaped my perspective of the world.
Mm-hmm.
I know one that you're particularly proud of is you have Who Will You Be? And that's one you completely
Mm-hmm.
wrote and completely illustrated yourself.
Yes.
What's that one about?
So that was inspired by my son. I think it was 2 or 3 at the time, and thinking about the books that he was engaging with. And, we ask our kids a lot of times, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the question I wanted to ask him was, who will you be in terms of your character? How are you contributing to the world? So that's how that came to be, and thinking about our community and the people that inspire and influence our children. So not just the parents, but like grandma or the next door neighbor. How do they uh, exemplify kindness or compassion or love? So that's how that came to be.
And that's really cool that you have that experience as a mother and being able to take that and not only just kind of creating for children, but creating for your own children and being able to
Hmm.
have the resources available to you because you made them, which I think is like the
Exactly.
best possible approach to things. And then can you
It's
talk a little bit
fantastic.
about your yogi deck a little bit?
Yeah. So Christy McCreary, she's a phenomenal yoga instructor, and she wanted to create a yogi deck for kids to understand their emotional intelligence. So I really love that perspective because it wasn't just about learning the different poses and thinking about your like physicality, but also how do you manage your emotions. So when she reached out to me, I was like immediately yes, because again, I'm thinking about what my kids need. So just wanting to make something that felt really reflective of different kinds of kids and colorful and bright and fun. Just, something that they can engage with and keep it in their room and go to whenever they're feeling like they want to learn something new or a new pose or something about being, emotional intelligent,
And that's so cool
emotionally
that
intelligent.
as a young person you can now kind of have access to those feelings being acknowledged and like finding new ways
Yes,
to approach them, because I feel when we were younger it was not something that was even considered to be available for little kids because it's it would be like too mature of topics, but like they are
right.
very human experiences, um
Exactly.
and
It's so
people in the chat
important.
are excited about it too. Sean is saying, my yogi deck is all picnic baskets. Yum. um, but no, these are really beautiful. I do want to hop
Thank
over
you.
to Brittany in just a second. But we'll just I want to do a quick flip through of all these wonderful things that you went and you sent over. I love your use of color. I love the neon on black. That is such a favorite aesthetic of mine. And you do a lot of really dark backgrounds with bright foregrounds, which
Hmm.
is always really cool to see. Um, and I guess just right before we go over to Brittany, maybe just talking about Becoming Me real quick.
Absolutely. This is actually one of my favorite book projects. It was the second book that I worked on and pitched and worked on to the publisher. And we wanted to do a follow up to I Love My Hair, which was a coloring book. So, it still incorporates some coloring, but I wanted it to be more about just nurturing your creative expressions and taking time to reflect. So it's for an older age, maybe like preteen, and just, it's like filled with tips and ideas and thoughts about your creative ideas. Trying to think because I haven't flipped through it in so long, but it's one of my favorites because it just really gets to the core of just being creative or incorporating creativity into your day.
And it also has this ongoing theme throughout the rest of your work where it's like this meditative process and an idea
Hmm.
of self-reflection. Um, and to your point, just giving people this space to embrace themselves, which is really cool.
Exactly.
But all right. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that work with us. I know that we can find the rest of your work just at andreapippins.com, right?
Yes, AndreaPippins.com. And I show a lot of my process and just, what's happening in my studio on Instagram. So folks can find me also on the IG at
Yeah. What's
Andrea
your
Pippins.
Instagram? Andrea Pippins, right, on Instagram as well.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. All right, well, Brittany, I hope you're ready because we're about to bring you in. And then I'm actually going to hop off in just a second, but I will still be around and checking out chat. So, guys, hello to homie Henry and Carla, Matthew, Brittany, and Brem over on YouTube. Also, Jan Tillert over on Behance is saying great designs. Over to you, Andrea.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to bring you in, Brittany. So here we come, Brittany. How's it going?
Oh. Hi.
Good morning. I know it's very early for you, so thank you for being here. I guess you just want to start off real quick with a little elevator pitch, and then I'll leave you guys to it.
Okay. So hi, my name is Brittany. I am currently a student at CSUN, California State University Northridge, and I'm studying communication design. I'm an illustrator, visual, and tattoo designer. I offer a diverse range of art styles tailored to meet the unique preference of my clients, and I'm always open to learning more from both people and the world around me.
Awesome. That was beautiful. Wow. Impressive. So I'm excited to speak with you and just wanted to start by saying thank you for joining us on this. This, I think, is really brave and courageous to, have your portfolio reviewed in general, but to do it on a live stream is pretty phenomenal. So kudos to you. So shall we just jump right in?
Of course. And thank you for looking at my portfolio, if anything.
Of course. So for those who may not know, I was able to review the portfolio beforehand just so I could be prepared with some questions or thoughts, and then we can do some freestyle as we're chatting. All right, so just gonna go in here. Now, for this project, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the context. This is so you designed the book cover and the interior spreads as well?
Yes. So for this project, it was a class project, and we were to make a book on artists. And I chose manga artists, more specifically the Studio Clamp, because that is my favorite. Since growing up, I've watched and read all of their stuff, and I've always admired kind of the more magical girl just art everywhere. It's just beautiful to me.
And did you write the text as well, the copy?
Yeah, no, okay. I did not write the text.
Okay, so it was setting the copy and then taking some existing illustrations and laying it out into the book. Okay, that's a great exercise. All right, so we as designers need to understand how do we relate text with image all the time. I would love to start with the book cover. I thought it was really interesting how you incorporated this kind of texture or line art within the text and how it extends all the way, so it goes up and around. And when I get into the book, I can see that connection, how it relates to the interior images. It all has this kind of flowy, ethereal feel. So I think that's a wonderful connection. And then of course, using the same color palette, so you have this like black grayscale palette that you're using throughout, which is quite difficult, because sometimes we can rely on color to kind of fill in the gaps if something feels a little dry or uninteresting. But I think you did a good job with, just thinking about how this would look with a grayscale palette. One thing I wanted to ask you about was I'm assuming these are the author names or illustrator names, artist names?
Those are, yes.
Okay, so one thing to consider thinking about when you have a book on a shelf in a bookstore among many other books, the whole goal is to attract someone who's, that you want to pick up this book. And sometimes the name more so than the name of the artist, more so than the title, can grab someone's attention, especially if these are well-known artists who do manga artwork. I would just consider making the names a bit bigger. It doesn't have to be bigger than the title. I mean, the text, the font is different, so that helps with differentiating the two. But just making it a bit bigger so that you can really catch the eye in case these are names that someone is drawn to. I thought the way that you played with the image with the text and scaling up the image on one side of the spread was really good in terms of, drawing in some interest. That's really important. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one because I have a lot of things to say about your convention project, so I don't want to run out of time. Can you give me a little bit of background about this project?
So for this project, it was our packaging class, and we could make any packaging for a drink or food brand. And I chose General Soju because for me, I always loved the little frog character that's on their boxes, and I wanted to kind of enhance that. And then also the very like cutesy and like almost refreshing. You can really taste the flavor of it. So I wanted to make it more brighter, not brighter, but more cute and like a refreshing packaging versus what they have now.
Okay, so it was basically a rebrand of an existing drink, right? Okay, so I'm just gonna go through each one. I would say overall in your portfolio, I was like, this is someone who is definitely an illustrator or is interested in illustration. And I thought that it was great that you would bring it into your designs, because if you can illustrate, why not? I think that's really important to experiment with. And then I think that the consistency of how you apply the color to show us, what flavor it is, and then the pattern and the fruit is all really great to think about. This, branding is working as a unit, but also individually. One thing I would consider, so just looking at the text for the word of the flavor, so in this case, peach, grapefruit, and oops, the wrong way, strawberry. Just thinking about, again, that idea of, what you're calling out to your customer or viewer, what you want them to really see right away. And thinking about maybe you could use all caps here or a bolder font just to, really grab somebody's attention so that they know exactly what flavor they're picking up. I think the way that you incorporated that pattern was really interesting too. And you could even think about, so you have it on all of these panels here, but maybe there is maybe two side panels, it gets bigger or changes in some way, something that you can play with a bit. I would love to see, and maybe this is something you're thinking about for later, how this looks mocked up. Is that something that you'll plan to do in the future?
So on my portfolio website, I do have a slight mock-up of it.
Okay.
I made it on Dimensions for Adobe Dimensions.
Okay.
So this weekend I was like learning how to do Adobe Dimensions the whole time. I was like, okay, I want to make a specific box for this. So it is on there.
Okay, so that'll be great to have on your, like you said, you have it in your portfolio, and even having them side by side so we can see how they work, together as a branded family. Okay, I'm gonna move to, I think this is here we have one more before I go to your main project. So organic coconut rice. Was this also a rebrand?
Yes, this is a rebrand that we went into little groups, but we all had our own design style. And for this one, we're rebranding Lundberg's coconut rice. Here, we all decided to do a more travel aspect for the rice. So here we have Taste Travels with You, where even if you're going to work, staying at home, the taste will always travel with you.
Okay, I love that concept. I will say that when I read I guess you would say the logo or the text, I couldn't quite make it out at first. So I think maybe, is it meant for Taste Travels to be one word, or should there be two? Okay.
It was It's two words, but I just put them together, so it's more.
Okay,
cohesive.
so it's intentional that it should be read as one word.
Mhm.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, I mean, I would just think about that and think about I'm just thinking because it is a long, very long word, and I think that the way that it's integrated here works really well because it sits with the packaging, like the label, beautifully. So I guess, just thinking how it will work across other mediums and platforms to make sure that it's legible and that it holds up as one word in its logo mark.
Mhm.
Did you also use that program to mock this up?
This one was through general mockups online.
Okay. Yeah,
I didn't go that far into dimensions to be able to do plastic and cardboard.
Okay, I get it. All right, so I'm going to jump over to your geese convention.
Geese con. So here for this class,
Okay.
we were to make a convention about anything we wanted. And I initially chose a different one, so I was making 2 case studies at the same time, so that was fun. And I eventually ended up liking this one a lot more, even though this one started as a joke with my classmates. And what inspired GeeseCon is this bag that a lot of people know me for, and I've always seen.
Oh, okay.
This bag.
I see. I couldn't see it at first, so I had to. But okay, so it was a joke, which I got. There was a lot of, felt like there's some humor here. But before we continue, I just want to say a shout out to Nick Longo, your instructor for this
My
project.
professor for this project.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. Well, first I will say I love so much when instructors, science professors, whatever title is preferred, incorporate some kind of branding project where you have to create a ton of materials for branding to work, or the identity to work across within the project. I think it's so important because you have to be able to see where the holes are when you create a logo mark or a pattern. You scale it up really big for a billboard, or scale it really down or really small for a business card. Does it hold up on all of those different platforms? I think it's really great that you got to work on and you got to think up what it was going to be. So GeeseCon, and I'm gonna just go through. Let's see, I'm not able to go through the page here. Okay, you can see me scrolling, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have this is your process for kind of developing the logo. And then we have your final logo and your logo style guide and the palette here. And what I'll say, just in general, I felt that there was a lot of consistency in how you applied the logo and then how you used your palette throughout, which I think would really helped it hold it all together as this identity, this this brand for the convention. Just scrolling through so folks can see what we are referencing. So thinking about the keychain or the keychain holder, the notebook, and the I thought these are stickers.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So envelope, posters, signage, the billboard, seeing how all of these things work across these different elements is, really important. On a mobile device, it's great. And you're using the colors consistently. And I think that holds up really well. So let's get into the nitty gritty. I thought that's, like I said, the sense of humor in it was really fun. And I think showing your personality in a portfolio is really important. And I was really excited to see like, okay, where is this portfolio, or where's this project going with this idea of GeeseCon? And, you're bringing these ideas of geese, goose versus Gosling and the golden egg. One thing I would recommend is to add a little bit more context about what we would see at this convention. What are the people going to engage with? The sense that I get, it's going to be fun. I think there's even some copy here where you talk about it being really, this fun family gathering. What are some ways that you can incorporate copy that tells us, what they're going to be doing? Are they going to be interacting with geese? Are they going to go on a golden goose hunt? I don't know, but just, giving us a little bit more so we can figure out what we're going to be doing or seeing. With the logo, I felt that the type, when I think about a geese and their form, I felt like this font or the type for the logo mark really connected. I would just be careful in terms of the weight of the main portion of the logo. So geese to con, and then to this mark of the geese or goose. Because again, thinking about when we use it in different ways, scaling it down, I think there's going to be some things that will fill in, like the counters of some of the letter forms in geese might start to fill in, as well as the eye and the separation for the beak from the main body of the goose. Those things might start to fill in and become blobby and may not be legible. So just, think about that. And it could just be a matter of, choosing a lighter weight font, or making some things bigger. Like maybe you don't need the
whole body.
The whole body, maybe it's just, the head in some way. And also consider, do you want this part of the body to hang down like that? Because maybe that will, making that shorter will make it easier for you to apply it in different ways. So it doesn't give you like, weird negative space around the whole identity. Let's just look at my notes because I feel like we're running out of time. So were you thinking that this would be a brand guide in your portfolio, or are we just seeing like the different pieces of the project?
For this, I initially wanted it to be more of a brand guide, so we know like just the consistency throughout. That's why it's so consistent, because I wanted it to be obvious to people, like, oh, these are going to be more background colors. This is going to be the watercolors. That's why when I was naming them, I put very specific names for them. So it's all very consistent.
So I would say, in terms of it being a branding guide, I would even go further. So decide if you want to incorporate the process for the logo, because a branding guide wouldn't necessarily show that. So you can decide, is this the process for the project itself, or is this a branding guide for GeeseCon? So that will determine what you're going to keep in or take out. And then that's also going to help you with the labeling. So for example, here, you might want to see the word, process, if you decided to just be, a process guide for the project. Like here you have, logo style guide. So that's something we would see in a branding guide. So I would just, determine that. I think we're out of time, but I do have one more thing I wanted to add. Again, I think you did a great job in terms of applying the logo and the color palette in so many different ways. Just, everything holds up together. I would just consider maybe incorporating a brochure, a catalog, or a program guide, so that a future employee or employer, when they're looking at this, they can see more of you and how you're incorporating copy and setting text in this branding system.
Well, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this is very exciting. I'm excited for us all to go to GeeseCon now.
I know, right?
I also learned that apparently a male goose is called a gander. So the more you know.
My little facts everywhere.
But if you're joining us right now, hello to everyone in the chat. Thank you guys for being here. We just took a look at Britney Ho's portfolio, and she is a student at CSUN, right? California State University of Northridge.
Correct.
Is that right? And we just took a really great look through some of her branding work with conventions and also some packaging design as well, which was really cool to see. I went ahead and I threw the URL to her portfolio in both the Behance and YouTube chat. We got some really nice mentions while you were in there from Clever and Robert said great portfolio. Reverb Mike with the puns said nice to take a gander at her work. Umacorn was happy about it. Clever said it was a honking good time. So we love our puns, but most of all, we really just want to thank you, Britney, for coming on. And as Andrea was saying at the very beginning, it's very brave of you. Obviously, you should be proud of it. It's like nothing to be necessarily brave about because you have great work. But thank you for letting us check it out. Also, Omar would say that he would go to GeeseCon over on YouTube. Ben Harris says he would also maybe call it GooseCon. So you have some controversy. And then the homie Henny says, looks great, Britney. So before we hop right over to Carla, I just want to say thank you one more time to you and let you kind of say goodbye before we kick you off.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for looking at my portfolio and giving me this opportunity to have my portfolio be here live. And then thank you to Nick Longo, my professor, Longo of Longo Designs, giving me this opportunity and connecting me with everyone.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will hopefully see stuff from you soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then now we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring up our next guest, who is also a student of Nick Longo. So Nick Longo is the second star today. But Carla Jimenez is going to be coming on, and I'm going to let her actually also give her elevator speech as well. But I'm going to bring you in. So here you are, Carla. Welcome to the stream.
Hello.
Hey, Carla.
Hi, nice to meet you. So I'm Carla Jimenez. I am a student at California State University, Northridge. I am studying graphic design and psychology. It's a lot, but that's who I am. I love to bring just a lot of colorful shapes and just overall colorful palette to when it comes to my designs. I love to bring storytelling and just overall diverse, also my cultural background to it as well. And that's who I am.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for letting us look at your portfolio. Actually, let's close some of this.
Well, thank you for taking the time.
Of course. Okay, so we're going to hop right in.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to start with your...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we can start actually with this one because this is the first one here. So if you can just tell us about the prompt.
So this is our second project that we're currently working on at Nick Longo's class, and it is a redesign as well. We're redesigning Annie's, and when I was looking at Annie's, I realized just how inconsistent I want to say their design was at first. There's like there could be a random peace sign out of nowhere. And I just wanted to really redesign the whole thing in general, just to see like really give off another vibe, because when you look at their product, they really want to promote that it's a family company, and it really did seem targeted towards kids, and we wanted to really go for a dive where it would be something for everyone. Everyone like can buy a box of Annie's and they can feel warm inside. You know, that good feeling, that comfort food, essentially.
Right. I mean, mac and cheese, definitely a delicious comfort food.
Oh yeah.
Okay, before I jump into this one, I'm just going to go ahead forward because I think my comments relate to both. So this was also a rebrand of an existing drink, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
This one was for my packaging design class, and so for this one we could have chose any drink and to really, just like what you said, redesign the whole thing. I love Celsius. My parents introduced me to Celsius. And when I was told about this project, the first thing I thought was Celsius. I gotta go for that because it's just something that I've always admired from like a bar and just like it's a good drink, you know. And I just really wanted to take a deeper dive into how they could possibly rebrand themselves with like fruits flying in with like that water combination and just what's your vibe, you know? Like everyone has
Right.
a different sort of vibe and aesthetic that they want and just choose that with a drink.
And the fruit, did
Mhm.
you do this collage of like the fruit in action yourself?
Uh, I did get some from Adobe stock, but I did like collab like a bunch of different water and different types
Mm.
of fruits. So
Mm-hmm.
it was all courtesy of Adobe stock.
Okay. Wonderful. So overall, I'll say that both of the packaging, the design, everything feels really professional. And when I saw the Celsius one, I was like, this looks like something I might, really see in the grocery store, wherever you might buy an energy drink. Just, really well done in terms of thinking about the hierarchy, how you're using color to call out certain things, highlighting the logo, incorporating the fruit. Like it feels definitely the vibe of a sparkling energy
Thank
juice or drink. And the same thing that I felt with the packaging here. So because you already you present this to someone and they can see that you can set type, you could do packaging, all the things.
you.
The skills are there, right? So thinking about the things that you just said about incorporating your love of color and warmth and your cultural background and thinking about the next project that we're going to look at,
Mhm.
just if you want to push yourself, like these both done, but if you wanted to push yourself, what are some things you can do to really enhance that idea or make this feel a little bit different than what we might see already on a grocery store shelf, right? So it could just be like blowout crazy color,
Yeah.
or here, like, I don't know, the scale of this Annie's bunny. Is this their existing logo?
No, it
Or
isn't. I
okay,
actually redesigned that logo.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because you talked about it being warm and about family and it's family
Mhm.
owned, what are some ways that you can bring that in like in your face way? Maybe, I don't know. I'm just trying to give you some ways to um, push yourself beyond the, so to speak, expected. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
the best word.
No, I get it.
Because we can see that, clearly you can design, you understand hierarchy, you understand use of color and all those things. So, well, how else can you bring in your personality as
Mhm.
a designer?
Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you so much.
so beautiful work.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm gonna go to your convention project,
Yes.
and I'm just gonna kind of scroll through so folks
Yeah.
can see what we're gonna be talking about. Actually, I'll let it sit here so folks can read.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to add or share before we dive
So
in?
so this convention, again from Nick Longo as well, he let us have full like creative like power over this. And I had recently just came back from a trip from El Salvador and I am a dual citizen from El Salvador. So being my culture, it's just a huge thing for me. It's something that like I'm so thankful for my parents to really like introducing me and never like that fear of like holding me back from just where my roots are and such.
Mhm,
And so I really wanted to make a convention where Hispanic art can be really like introduced to everyone and really make a tight community where everyone all around different types of art could be graphic design, illustrated, pottery, painting, you name it. Everyone can just come together for this convention and really like just come together and really have a strong connection and all that because that's what conventions really do ultimately.
mhm,
You know, you
mhm.
find your sense of community and you see there's other people that are just like me here and we can relate on these many like different sorts of things. And so that is what I wanted to introduce here for this convention.
Wonderful. So here's your process for the
Yes.
logo.
Yes. It was my process. It was definitely a challenge because it was something where I felt like something was missing. I really felt that like there's something there that I was just like I still wanted to scream vibrant, still something to scream like Hispanic heritage. And then that is when you look at the logo. I found it.
Yes. So vibrant. When I look at this, I think it's like dancing, there's energy, it's warm, it feels very much like all the things that you described to us and what you wanted to present in this convention. The color palette really fits with all that, the applications. Some of the things that I'm going to say will be a repeat of what I mentioned before with the previous presenter portfolio. Just how well things work across different elements within a system, a branding system. And I think you did that really well. What I mentioned before was that I love projects like this because I think it's a great way to exercise this idea of, you know, a logo or color palettes or patterns working across so many different platforms, mobile devices, signage, badges, you know, thinking about the backgrounds that people might want to stand in front of, again, posters, all this information. Okay, I'm going to go back up. So I don't know if this was something from the brief, like a brief requirement in terms of presenting. Were you thinking that this would be a brand guideline or just a way to present your project?
It would ultimately be a case study, just like
Okay.
what if you look at this sort of project, like if you look at this convention, like what is everything that it's going to include, just like the overall like process of everything, like how did we get from this idea to just something like actually executing in it to be a real thing, to say the least.
Okay.
So ultimately it's a case study.
So that helps me with the one of the things I wanted to mention was I thought this was, you know, like a really fun and warm way to bring the person in, but maybe give us the logo here.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's saying welcome, but then we're not really sure yet, you know, what you're, we don't find out until quite a bit later what we're being welcomed to. So it could just be, you know, the logo, maybe with a line or something that tells us what we're going to engage with on the next few pages or spreads. Okay, I want to go down a bit. Let me just take a look at my notes because I had a lot to say here.
And as you look at the notes, I'm just going to hop in real quick because there's a lot of really great comments over on YouTube and on Behance. And so I just want to call out, there's Vapor is saying the Celsius packaging makes me want to get some to share with friends and enjoy, which is a great compliment. Omar's also say, I drink Celsius. I like the box design here. Reminds me of more newer products that have been released lately. Janet's also saying it looks very professional. One part of a constructive criticism from Mike over on Behance, though, is he saying he wishes that the art was more at the forefront because he feels like the box is small and they know what a box looks like. They want us to see your art. So maybe just having something that grows bigger with that. And then Elsa saying, good job, Carla. Keep your hard work. Proud of you. And a homie, Henny says, representa, and is just very excited to see your stuff. But not trying to steal limelight.
No.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. It's great.
Yeah,
Portfolio's going great. And I'll be back in a little bit. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I think it's always great to, you know, hear feedback from folks. I mean, that's what we need to get better, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to take a look at the patterns here and talk about that because, you know, I'm a bit biased. I use a lot of patterns in my work. I love patterns, and I think it's, you know, really fun to see how we're thinking about, you know, these patterns being a part of this branding. Oh my gosh, I just blanked. Gradients.
It's all right.
Gradients are hard to like incorporate. I think there's, you know, a lot of people kind of cringe, but I think that the gradient you created feels really beautiful, connected to, you know, what you're trying to convey with the intention behind this convention. So, you know, warm, colorful, vibrant, it all really connects. So I love that. I'm wondering if you can think about, you know, how you have this beautiful color palette. What are some other ways that you can use the color? So the first 3 patterns that you have here, they're all on white. So can you put these exclamation marks on, they could be white on a red background, or, they could be two colors on a blue color or blue background. So you can really play and mix and match with this color palette that you have, because it is, it's so rich and lively. Don't be afraid to, switch things out. And you already have it. You already have the like baseline and foundation of the pattern. So just, switching out the colors, so then you have even more patterns. So I'm not saying like get rid of any of these. It's just adding to your palette of what you can use for this brand.
Thank you.
Oh, so the way that you are using photography, I think, is really great. It's like a nice contrast to the really graphic nature of the like flat color, flat shapes, graphic shapes. So it gives it even more energy. Just one thing to think about, if you decide to evolve this project some more, you can really play with the photography. I just saw that Pentagram released it was a project that they did for the V&A, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and it was called Young V&A. So it's for the youth who attend these workshops or programs at the museum. And they use these really cool photographs with dual tones and dot patterns. So, sometimes it's hard to find the right photo, or it's like, it's difficult, right?
Yeah.
So the way that you can really make it fit into what you've created is by, making it could be all black and white, grayscale, or the dot patterns, dual tones, as I mentioned.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll definitely look into it.
The patterns here, that's something I meant to mention. Were these also patterns that you found or you created for?
That is actually a photo I found of Adobe stock. It's an embroidered floral design, which is very common in like in these sort of like Hispanic cultures and all that. They're usually seen in like shirts and purses or wallets and such. And I found it, and I thought this would be such a great background. And I did find it like right when the submission date was gonna be like right on the submission date. So I was like, I need to incorporate this somehow. But I did like flourish out like this a bit more, so there's like a completely different version, and like I'm still adding this one into it because I feel like it really represented well like that cultural like heritage in a sense.
Absolutely, and it's another layer, right? It's again another part of your toolbox that you can have for your patterns, and the way that you apply color to them, it again fits in with the whole with the palette and everything that you've created. So I think that's working really well, and it's important. One tiny little thing here. So when you have your name, like the name, it's pretend, right? So I know sometimes we don't want to use a real name, but you can, or if you feel uncomfortable making up a name, you just use your name. It's no problem. And then you can also, if you want to expand on this project, you can add more tags. So like a badge for a speaker, a badge for like a VIP. Just thinking about the different ways that you can really show the broad spectrum of how you can apply this identity, because you have so much to work with, and I can tell that you had a lot of fun with it, so you could just like use your imagination, go crazy with it. Same thing with these posters. So here, we see the same three, but what does it look like for another guest, or for different things? So like, what does it look like for a dance performance? What does it look like for an art exhibition? What does it look like for like a food hall, the food trucks? So just how would it expand even more beyond, what are the sub layers of the identity? It was just really fun to look at this, and I could tell that you had, like I said, you had a lot of fun within the applications of the logo. So if you have time, if you want to push, you can just really go nuts with it.
I am. I definitely am right now.
Let's see. I'm just looking at my notes again. Did you have any questions about this project or the other two?
No overall question. It just felt so fun. Like every time I'm in next class, it always just doesn't feel like homework. Yeah, I feel like I'm truly like pushing myself to new levels that I never really thought that I would ever like reach. But it's all about just like growing experience, really. And so overall, I'm just like so happy with like whatever I come out with because like I would have never thought that like I'd be doing something like this, you know? It's super, super crazy to just think about and just like overall, I just like thank you so much for like the criticism and everything. And it was just like, really something that like I'm gonna really work towards and all that because these are I'm proud of these. I'm proud of these really.
And what's your favorite?
My
What's your
favorite, the convention. It just
Mhm.
holds like something like dear to me. Really, it's like I feel like it's the one thing that really like screams out, "This is me." Like this is who I am. This really
Mhm.
represents me. Like I can't name a convention after myself, but if I can, this would be it.
Well, I would just say listen to that. I think that's really important. You know, a lot of times as designers, we're told we can't bring ourselves into a project. So, of course, in the future, if you're working at a design firm or, you know, interning, whatever the case, you're going to work on some really specific projects with specific briefs. But there's always an opportunity to inject it with a little bit of your identity, whether it's the way that you apply color. Of course, you know, it's being filtered through you, so it's you're offering your perspective, you're offering your insight, your life experiences. So um, don't forget that. Don't forget that energy, that interest, that background that you bring to the table. You can always inject a project or assignment with that.
Thank you.
Very well said. I will hop in to just say there's lots of love in both of the chats. I do see that Omar is saying he likes the consistent tropical colors across the logo and branding, which also goes a little bit back to what Andrea was saying. Janet saying beautiful branding, colors, and exciting promotional designs for the convention. Kayley is pointing out that she loves how fun this project is, but she thinks that there is an R missing in artistry. So always going in and just doing one of those crazy spell checks. Something that always
Yes.
works for me personally is read in reverse if it's in a sentence or anything, because otherwise your brain is going to automatically do some work that you don't want it to do. And so that's always helpful. And then Josie over on Behance is saying that you did a really great job, and also pointing out that designing food packaging can be challenging due to federal regulations. So there's always that too. And it kind of gives you the opportunity to really break the rules when there are no rules. But yeah, overall, absolutely great and very fun convention. I want to like throw my money at all these conventions that we're looking at today.
Thank you.
I'll just add to the point about, you know, just proofreading and double checking. I noticed palette was also misspelled. So, you know, just going in, it's an easy fix.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
But, great. Well, with that said, did you have any final questions or anything before we go our separate ways? Or where can we find you online, Carla?
You can find me on LinkedIn at Carla Jimenez and also my Instagram, carlajimenez.ai.
Great. And what's next for you? What do you have coming up? What are you excited about?
Graduating.
Yeah. When do you graduate?
I graduate in spring, May 27th, I believe. But yeah, I just got one more semester left. Just finish strong.
That's fantastic. And you have your double major, so a lot of work ahead.
A lot of work ahead. A lot of work. That's for sure.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Carla. We're excited to see what comes next from you. Thank you for putting yourself on the stage, and it was really nice having you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
All right. And then there were two, so it's just us left. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through this. I mean, this went perfectly. This went even better than I expected. We do have more stuff coming up in the next episode in just a few minutes. We're going to be taking a short break. But right in case people are joining in before the next episode, I do want to actually just do one more kind of draw back to your portfolio, just because now people have kind of heard your perspective, and I would love to go ahead and pull this up real quick, and then we can just do one last, I guess, elevator pitch for you, and then I would be excited about what's next for you. What are you working on? What are your exciting projects? Coming down the line?
I have a new book coming out called The Spark in You. That's out January 9th, available for pre-order.
Great.
It's speaking to, you know, what Carla was saying with her background. My background, my mother is from Brazil, and this was an opportunity for me to celebrate my Brazilian heritage. So it's set upon the backdrop of Carnival in Brazil. And it's about this girl who is embracing the spark that's in her, and that's in all of us. So it's my 6th book that I authored and illustrated. I'm losing count, so
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And that's Random House Publishing, right?
Yes, it is.
Very cool. The big name too. So we're gonna be looking forward to that. Thank you so much. Once again, we can just find your work at AndreaPippins.com, and then also Andrea Pippins on Instagram as well.
Yes.
It was a pleasure talking to you. I know it's late for you, so I hope you can get some sleep. And thank you again.
Thank you for inviting me. Great to see these portfolios. Great to see you again.
Yeah, of course. All right, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
All right, guys. That's it for this episode. But like I said, we will be right back with another professor and 2 students in just a few minutes. So don't go anywhere. Maybe take a bathroom break or do your thing. But we will be right back. So don't go anywhere. Thanks. Episode 2. Good to be here. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. If you stuck with us through the break, I appreciate you. It's really great to have 3 episodes today of the professors reviewing portfolios. We had Andrea Pippins on the very first one, along with Britney Ho and Carla Jimenez Guillen. And they had some really awesome work, and it was really cool to see this relationship between the two. And I am very excited for our next guest, for Alan Comport. He is a wonderful teacher. He is a wonderful illustration, exhibition, experiential design guru that I have always been really inspired by how he is able to touch so many things and still make so many really cool things in all of those different facets. And he has a design studio with his wife called Art at Large, which I'm going to let him talk about a little bit. And he has been a professor for 21 years, so he definitely knows how to interact with students. And he specializes, like I was saying, in exhibition and experiential graphics and illustration. And he was the illustration department chair from 2016 to 2023 at Maryland Institute College of Art, which is my alma mater. And I'm very excited to have him in. So just let you know, I'm about to put you on camera, but welcome to the stream to Alan.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
It's great to see you.
Afternoon.
Yeah, can
Good
you
to
hear me
see
all
you
right?
too. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly. Thank you for that nice introduction. That was too much, but that's fine.
That is too much. All right. Well, I'll let you draw it back and give yourself
I'll
also a nice one as well. But do you want to give your little elevator pitch real quick then?
Sure. I started off my career many years ago, actually as a psychotherapist. My wife at the time just opened an illustration studio. And at some point, we realized the connection between people's emotional way of living and art. And so I joined with her way back in Denver, Colorado. And we grew the company. We moved it to Florida. We did quite well in Florida. Wanted to get closer to New York, as many artists do, and moved up to the Baltimore, Maryland area, actually in Annapolis, Maryland, which is just outside of there, home of the Naval Academy. And during that time, we had opened up our company, and we were representing illustrators, photographers, some calligraphers actually, and growing the company, and decided at one point that we were going to specialize, and this happened right when I started at MICA. So I was really out of the day-to-day in the company, and Art at Large grew out of a vision that my wife Sally had for doing exhibition graphics, large-scale graphics, private, public. What you're looking at now is from Winterthur. It's the exhibition on Jacqueline Kennedy. And it was, these exhibitions are my love of history, my love of art, my love of photography, of objects. It all comes together in this. And so we work with a large team of architects who do like the feng shui of the whole thing, where the walls go, where people walk, all the cases. And then our company does just all the design, all of the graphics, all of the illustration, all of the promotion for them. And it's really fun. This is the Ann Lowe exhibit, which is up at Winterthur right now. A remarkable dress designer. She was amazing. And so we work with Mount Vernon. We work with all the museums in the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, designing exhibitions. And for me, 30, 40 years into this visual communications industry, this has been a way for me to do other things. I get to, and not as much anymore because I've done it so long, but I get to climb on ladders and use power tools, and we think about lighting, and we even design carpets. And now what we're really thinking about is taking this kind of 2D graphics approach and make it experiential. So when you walk on a carpet, it turns on the camera and the carpet becomes something else, or things that you look at change while you're looking at them. I mean, you've all seen these experimental exhibitions. And so we're always looking to do something new. We also do still, through Art at Large, a ton of books. Mostly right now we do historical nonfiction books. And we also do, we get hired by institutional companies to do murals, which we're doing some right now for a company I'm not allowed to mention on air. And so maybe, you guys all know about what a NDA is, but that's great. This is a great project. If you could stop on that for a second. This was there in Paraguay. Maybe you've seen this on 60 Minutes. It's a village in Paraguay, and it literally was built on a dump, a trash dump. And the people who ran the school in that village and the kids wanted to learn music, and they literally built an orchestra out of the trash they pulled out of that dumpster.
Wow.
And they've been traveling the world now for probably 5 years. It's called the Recycled Orchestra. It got picked up by, like I said, 60 Minutes did a piece on it. And we just had the thrill of our life. Just like a month ago, they were in, of all places, Annapolis, Maryland. And we got to meet all the musicians, all these years later, and the leader and the guy who builds all the instruments out of the trash they find. And then they played a whole concert just for us, which was really moving. I don't want to cry just to start the beginning of this thing, but it was just, it's so wonderful. And I don't want to get too far over my skis here, but if we can make work that moves people emotionally and intellectually and teaches them about things that they otherwise would never have seen, what better life can you have than that? I mean, it's just a blast. So
yeah. And I also am really interested about, like, you're talking a little bit about how you've been in it for such a long time and how, you've worked on these products, they still kind of come back around. But one of the really interesting things too is I love how exhibition design has really kind of evolved over the last few years, especially with these new technologies like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it is so glaringly obvious when you go to a museum and the exhibition design has not been thoughtfully considered. And It's like, I'm just reading essays on walls and I don't feel immersed, and I don't feel like this is a good experience for me. And it's just amazing how, your experience can make a drastic change to someone's experience.
And it's, Ryan, it's really fun for us to go to the openings, because when we go to the openings, the curator and the people who the thing is about and their families, and they're the stars of the show. We're just walking around like with, trying not to be seen. But that allows us to observe how people experience things. And you see, you think you really made an impactful thing, and then people react and you go, well, maybe it wasn't as impactful as I thought. And we just learn every time we do this, we learn a ton. And, my hero, a great graphic designer, Milton Glaser, always talked about how the key to longevity in a large degree is remaining curious in the industry and wanting to learn something else and jumping in. When Ryan took my class on professional development, I don't know if it was even called then. One of the things that I always talked about was Sally and I made a kind of an agreement with each other that when people call us up, we know we're illustrators, you're a designer, you're an animator, whatever that is. John Q. Public is looking for a creative communicator, and they don't know all these names and what people are. And so they call up and they go, what I'm looking for is an artist to do, a 30-second TV spot on, whatever. And we would look at each other and just kind of wink and go, yeah, we can do that. And we would have, that's what's beautiful about this industry. It gives you an opportunity to continue to learn new things. Try new, now with all the things that are going on digitally and AI and all that stuff, it's exciting if you look at it that way.
Absolutely. Well, to speak of to that point of kind of the next generation coming in and teaching them to say yes and we have our first student up today, Kayley Ulett, and she is got some really cool stuff to share. We're going to be looking at her portfolio, which is available online. I'll also be sharing the screen so that everyone in the chat can also join along and watch themselves. Hello, by the way, to everyone in the chat saying hi. This is a live stream. Also, this will be available on replay. But hello to Reverb Mike and Oliver Andrews, Pomelo Media, Brittany, the homie Henny, and then Carla is still in the chat. So that's appreciated. But without further ado, I'm going to put you on screen, Kayley. So welcome to the stream.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Do you want to just give a quick elevator pitch of kind of yourself, and then I'll leave you two to it so you guys can walk through your stuff?
Sure. I am a senior at the University of Central Florida, and I'm studying graphic design. And my favorite like areas of design are like branding and layout and book covers. That's kind of like my dream job, to design book covers. But I really love bold colors and fun type.
Cool. That's great. So before we even start, one of the things that I always do at Micah, if you'll indulge me, would be to ask you, Kayley, like if you had to pick an area, a very specific area, and I think you answered the question, but I'm going to test you again on it, of your intended professional direction. So the two things I want you to tell me would be, one, do you see yourself like getting employed and have a job and a paycheck and benefits and all that stuff, or do you kind of aim to be a freelancer and kind of run your own ship, or maybe even do both? How would you answer that? And then specifically, if it is a job, I would like to be hired to do what?
Right. Well, freelance has always like interested me, but my professor at UCF, Victor Davila, he said once that your job should be the thing you're most passionate about. Like if you have, I don't know, you're working at an agency, then you come home and you also have freelance stuff, you're going to be exhausted. And that's not to say that people who do that, like that's your prerogative. Yeah. But in my head, that made a lot of sense, that the thing that I want to do every day is the thing that I'm most passionate about. So I think that being employed in the publishing industry, making book covers would be my dream job right now. Right. I think obviously it could change.
So yeah, thank you for that. And yeah, you're actually spot on with your observation and your professor of that. It's the way the market works now, a lot of people entering the market really need to just get a job, and then if they want to develop a freelance gig life, then you can do that on the side, but it's hard to just come out of the gate and freelance. So okay, with that being said, do you want to start going through some of your work, and let's talk about it? Okay, we're going to talk about the posters. I've been looking at this. Ryan sent it to me ahead of time. Kayley, just so you know, so I've been looking at this for a couple of days now, and it's really it was really fun to be on your site and look at it. So congratulations on just a lot of great work, just to come out of the gate with that. On these posters, can you talk about in specific, let's start with the Black Panther Party, because I love that poster. I love how you captured the aesthetic, both in composition, type style. The photographs are like, those are classic, those are awesome. That's an awesome photograph. And although my generation certainly would know who those two men are, you put it, you're teaching while you're putting this poster together. So talk a little bit about function and how you would see this thing being leveraged, because this is a historical really important movement in the 50s or 60s and 70s. And what made you want to do this, and how would you use this moving forward? What's the application?
Yeah, so I actually made it for a class I took. I have a minor in social diversity and inequality, and we had to create something that was related to what we were talking about in class. And I decided to make a poster that was kind of like an infographic about the Black Panther Party.
Sure.
I don't think that there's any real life application. Maybe back then, like you're saying, that it could inform people about what the party is. But yeah, I think that I just like had a lot of fun with this poster, and I was really proud of the way that it turned out. So I thought I'd put it on my site.
Great. So the intention of that then is that it was an exercise for you in terms of just awareness and maybe even education, but not actually, you didn't have an application in mind, right?
Right.
Cool. Okay, that's great. Okay, now let's move to there's 4 of them there. I don't want to spend too much time on any one thing. Is there one of these 4 that I'm looking at that you were really excited about, that you really felt good about?
I think it'd be the Black Panther Party, or the burn one underneath it.
Yeah. I'm just looking at that right now.
Yeah.
And I have a little iPad up here next to me, and that's the one I'm looking at, because I was going to pick it out and say,
I can't show that one.
Okay, great, gotcha. Okay, but anyway, so for the viewers, it's in the same vein as the Black Panther poster, where it's a call to action in a way. And the thing that Kayley, you did with this that is so cool was you took an old there you go. Keep going, Ryan, just a little bit more. There you go. You can stop there. You took a concept that is, what is it, 60 years old, an actual thing, but you use today's tools and today's effects to make it current, and you nodded to the original kind of aesthetic of the type, but then you modernized it, you know what I mean, and you really made it like right now. And so it, to me, even though all you who's out there looking is not seeing the whole thing, you can imagine what the next word is. And then below that, there's a cool graphic car in a really 60s kind of aesthetic, and it's on fire. And then you can see how the type is flipping back and forth between orange and black. It's just cool as heck.
Thanks.
So yeah, I love that one. I thought it was so fun. But again, the thing I really admired about it, Kayley, was how you really took historical references, actual things, and you said, how can I make this look like we're looking at it now? I'm guessing now about motivation, but I think you did a great job on that one. So way to go. Cool. So Ryan, you want to move us to somewhere else? Okay, yeah, great. Let's do that. So I'm following on another thing here. So why don't you talk about this and what this whole project was for you and what we're looking at. Let us know what we're looking at.
Yeah, so this was a project that I did for my UI UX class. I'm not like super into UI UX, but I thought the branding aspect of this was really fun. It's a independent bookstore that's like completely ran online. And I made a quiz that goes with the store that like allows the customer to find their tastes in books, and the bookstore will then recommend books based on your taste.
Yes.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
I think it's a one, conceptually, it's a great idea, because as much as, I think we think about our interaction with books, fiction, nonfiction, as being digitized, there is both things going on, and like with so many things in life right now, there's 5 zillion options, and how do you filter through those? This one I really enjoyed because of the function of it. One of the things that my age causes is for me to go to bed earlier and earlier all the time. and I love going to bed and having something to read for a little bit. And I use computers and tablets and all that stuff to find the books and download the books. But every once in a while, I really want to hold one. I really want to like have it in my hand and have that experience of turning the page, and just the whole experience of that is really cool. But who's got time to figure out like what's the right book for me? Would I like this one? Should I give it a shot? And I think the way you did this, if I understand it right, that was completely your intention, is to like help me pick the book that I'm gonna like. Is that right? How cool! Yeah, it's really great. So talk about on the sitemap there that we're looking at right now. Can you explain? I mean, it's self-evident to a great degree, but can you explain for those that are looking at this now how this would function in the real world in terms of the interaction between you as the designer and the publisher, let's say, of the book, or no, the person who's using this app to find a book would tell me about how you decided how many questions were appropriate, go.
I think that we know the attention span nowadays, at least for newer generations, is quite short. So I didn't want to do anything too long, because I think people would have gotten tired of that. So I thought 5 questions was good enough.
And I think you're spot on with that. I mean, that was what I really like. Now, okay, so I start by, if I was the user, I start by picking mood, genre, or featured. I pick one of those. Is that right? Or
well, this is just the map to know how to design the site. It's not necessarily for like the viewer to see. So,
exactly.
From the landing page, you could go to either shop, the quiz, or your account. And then once you go to shop, you can like sort the books by mood, genre, or featured books.
Gotcha.
Was the idea.
Cool. And is this okay, so we're looking at, stop there, Ryan, if you can. Stop there. These are samples of the landing pages and the menu and all that stuff. Are you actually taking this to the point where it's going to function on a phone, or have you done that?
It's on this site. If you scroll down, there's a Figma.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. There's a Figma prototype that I did I made the quiz work. You can get like your recommendations.
And Kayley, are you shopping this around?
Not really.
Oh my. You need to take my professional development class at Michael. I'd have you showing this to publishers and bookstores and online bookstores, and wow, yeah, because I think it's really a great idea. I mean, I think we need something like this. And when I saw on the sitemap there's a shop area, how did you imagine that shop being connected to what? A certain store, or would that be what?
Well, it is the brand So We Read. It's a bookstore itself. So once you take the quiz, it'll save your results, and then you can buy those books, or you can buy whatever books you want, really.
Right. Great. Okay. And so this exists already. So We Read, does it?
No, I came up with it myself.
Okay. Great. Cool. So I love this stuff, and I think it's really smart. Kayley, for you being a senior, I'm not wrapping this up until Ryan tells me to, but I just want to say it while I'm thinking of it. I'm really impressed by the breadth of your skill set, and I think it's a very what do I want to call appropriate but robust skill set of design and use of type and interactive design, and so like I'm really impressed. So way to go with that. Before I move on, I just wanted to tell you that it's really cool. Let's talk about these book covers for a while, because these were I loved all three of these. I was trying to decide, what my favorite book cover was, so then I could push you a little bit on it. But I love all of them. What's your favorite of these?
I think it's the first one, Women, Race, and Class.
Yeah. That's amazing. I think that's, when we create stuff and put it out into the world, to get a little serious again, our artists, illustrators, designers, animators, photographers, have a role in society and culture. We're not just doing this, I hope. I mean, some are, but we're not just doing this to like get $500 or get $1,200 or whatever we get. And our role in society, in culture, is about innovative thinking, about things deeper visually. It's about beauty. It's about functionality. It's about application, and it's about informing the culture and reflecting back onto the culture, whatever it is, the topic that we're dealing with, that we want to get across to them. And I love this first one, especially because, again, you've been able to do the same thing I mentioned earlier. You have this great, beautiful photograph, and it's self-evident of what it is, but your use of color and the graphics over that photo, I think, were really cool. And one of the things I preach all the time, Kayley, when I'm doing crits to my students at MICA, is, and this is the perfect example of it, one idea beautifully done. And you did that there. That's one idea, and you did it really well. You didn't go too far. You didn't get too timid with it. And I think it's really successful. I love holes too. Tell me about that.
So I'm taking an independent study right now, where I'm making these book covers, and my professor, she challenged me to do this in like 5 days ish, where I had to make a redesign the cover of Holes with digital and analog processes. So I got like potting soil that I had in my house, and I like made all the little shapes and took pictures of each of them. Nice. And I thought it like showed a hole without like actually showing a hole. Right. And the colors are like kind of relevant to the plot. And I don't know. I really like that one as well.
I like this one a lot too. And I wanted to ask you about that because I think it's super interesting. Before I forget, are you familiar with the work of Chip Kidd?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've had the honor and pleasure of meeting with him and working with him once on an exhibit, and meeting him a number of times. And his approach, and the reason I was bringing it up is his approach to design and book cover design in particular is remarkably important for you to just be aware of. I mean, Chip Kidd does Chip Kidd, and Kayley, you're going to do Kayley, so that's great. But I love thinking about it. Tell me about Anxious People too, because I don't know if you heard right at the beginning, I really started my professional life out as a psychotherapist, and this one really jumped out at me as well for obvious reasons.
Yeah, the original cover is an illustration of a couple, I think, either a couple or one person, and which it's very different than this. But it was, again, another assignment I had in the independent study where my teacher wanted me to create everything in a scanner bed. So the background is actually like my face in the scanner with a gradient map over it. And then the story is about a apartment viewing where a robber comes in and like kind of takes them all hostage. So the shape in the background is like an apartment blueprint kind of, or what's that called, floor plan. So it like kind of ties it all together, and I did the handwriting myself.
Sure, that's great. If I can just say one last thing, Ryan, do I have a second to say something? Okay, I'm gonna. For everybody looking, if Ryan, if you could kind of show us all four of those at once, if that's possible. One of the things that Kayley is doing really well is in her design of all of these pieces, there's a hierarchy of the type, and she is having you look at what you need to look at in the order she intends you to look at it, by how she has used fonts and composition and color, you know, to design these. So I just wanted to say good job on that. It's really, it works. They all work. I think they do. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much. That was really cool to hear about the anxious people with the
really good.
The photo scanning, and I mean, it's really cool. If I give a little piece of some of mine is for each of these ones, you have like a lot of background and process that went into these that necessarily isn't reflected on your website. It would be really nice to have like a small write-up of maybe some intention if I were to click in, because I can click in and it makes it bigger. But it would be cool if I could click in and, you know, I could hear that, you know, this was done with an analog way for the holes one, or like, you know, this is representative of a blueprint and also using a scanner for the anxious people. Just because that, as like, if I'm an art director looking for something, like, it's nice to see your work, but it's also really nice to be able to see that, like, if I were to hire you for a job, you're going to bring that next level of something that is like extra thought to a project. Process and rationale are really important. And to that end, Ryan, if I could throw in, you know, one of the things you might think about on your website is having an ideas category where you're showing preliminary sketches and some of the process work on just one or two projects. So one of the things I think art directors, designers love to see is how you think, and that might be helpful. Absolutely. And then one real quick before we say goodbye, just lots of really great feedback in the chats as well. Josie says, really great job. Oliver says, great work. Thanks, Kayley. Reverb Mike says, ding, ding, applause. Corn's also saying thank you. We have comments over on YouTube from AAR Creativo saying, great job. The homie Henny says, the Dawn of the Witches, great imagery used, a font, 100%. And Lance wants to say, thanks for sharing these amazing designs as well. But I want to say thank you to you for coming on the show, being brave, showing us your work. Everyone can check your stuff out at Kayley Ulett or KayleyUlett.com. But is there anywhere else you want to promote before we kick you off?
My Instagram is Swimmin' Fools. Swimming without the G, fools with the F, not a P.
Okay.
Cool. Great.
Kayley, thank you for sharing. It's great to talk to you.
Thank you guys for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
I'm looking forward to see what comes next. All right. And then next up, I'm really excited. We're going to bring in Analisa Cruz, and she's got a lot to show. I know we're running a little bit behind because of me. So I'm going to let her pop in and give her artist pitch, and then we'll jump right into her work. So welcome to the stream.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. This is an insane opportunity. So my name's Analisa. I'm currently a senior in my last semester. So crazy, went by fast, at California State University, Northridge. Nice. I am a graphic design major, but I do dabble in illustration a little bit, but that's mostly kind of self-taught. So kind of working on that, but mainly graphic design is my thing.
That's great. That's great. Well, congratulations on getting to your last semester. So I assume you're going to graduate in December. Is that right?
Technically, yes, but the ceremony isn't until May, so I got technically a semester free.
We do the same thing. I well, congratulations, because you know it's a endurance race, to be sure, to get through there. So way to go.
Yeah.
and you know, one of the things, I don't know if you were able to watch the last segment. or the beginning, but one of the things I want to say is that, like, when you were making a little bit of a distinction between, you know, I dabble in illustration, but I'm not an illustrator. Again, you know, one of the things that I think we all need to recognize when we begin to get out into the world and show our work and try to get work and try to get employment or whatever your goal is, is that the arc of I'm sorry, I was stuttering. The arc of a career. You know, I'm looking back on, you know, almost 50 years of a career now, and the arc of a career, you don't do one thing, the same thing your whole life. No one, I mean, very few people do that. Maybe accountants and engineers do that, but in the creative field, the thing that keeps us good, that keeps us pertinent, is the idea that we grow visually, we grow creatively, we grow with new tools and new technologies and all that stuff. And we all cross everything. I mean, I have, you know, just, and I'm not talking about me, but I am though. But one of the, I've been hired as a professional photographer. You know, I've been an art director. You know, and all these different things that I never thought I would do. And you get an opportunity to do them, and you say yes, and you go. And so, you know, don't sell short your illustration. I'm sure it's really cool, and
I appreciate that.
You're as much of an illustrator as anybody. So tell us about Stitch, because you sent 2 bodies of work, and this one I thought was really interesting.
So this was an assignment. I'm not sure if you saw Carla and Brittany's same assignment to design. So the premise of it was to design a convention. My professor, Nick Longo, gave us a lot of freedom with this, and I had a lot of fun with it. Great. So I chose to do a convention based on embroidery art. So like patches or embroidery artists who kind of do it on the hoops, because I feel like it's very underappreciated. It's not like a form of art that a lot of people really give attention to. So I wanted to make a convention kind of based on it, where artists can share their embroidered art or like patches, and then people who are fans of it can go and buy it. And there's like a lot of mingling, a lot of support for like artists who kind of do this. So also because I think that embroidery is kind of viewed as more of like a granny hobby. So I want to kind of take that back and give it more of a modern spin. So that's what you'll kind of see in my case study, is I used a lot of bright, fun colors to kind of take it away from being like having that kind of vibe around it.
Yeah, and I think you were successful at doing that. And I just want to say though, you know, what you just said and what I was saying prior to that have come together for me several times. One of the courses I teach at MICA, I've been teaching for a long time, is senior thesis. And I have had a number of students who have used embroidery in their illustration senior thesis. And I think it's a communication art, and it translates just as much as, you know, doing something in Photoshop or, you know, in Procreate or traditionally, you know, or printmaking. It all is visual communication, and so that's really cool.
Definitely.
So what did you envision this? Did you have like I almost wanted to ask you, like, do you envision this in like the Javits Center in New York, or do you see this as like a really small, a small, like one weekend only little thing, or one day only? How did you see this particular pitch actually manifesting itself in the real world?
So I honestly go to a lot of conventions myself, like whether it's like comic book conventions. I just went to Adobe Max for the first time, and that was awesome. So I was thinking more of like a bigger convention, like maybe Los Angeles Convention Center type space. So where it's not as small. I mean, if this were to ever, you know, become a thing, it'd probably have to start off small, but ultimately the end goal would be for it to be like a big convention like that.
That's great. That's great. And do you, one of the things I really liked, and we talked a little bit about in the last segment, is application. I think one of the things that commercial visual communicators, so that would be all of us, illustration, graphic design, animation, you know, interactive design, all of that, printmaking even. The thing that makes it in the realm of where we work is that it's applied in generally almost all the time, but not all the time, but overwhelmingly all the time to something particular. And I love how, as we went through this, you took, you know, these graphics and these type treatments and apply them to things that we could actually see. And, you know, as a potential investor, buyer, supporter of this, you know, if I was that person, I would get a really good sense of what you have in mind from this. I mean, you really put it together in a way that, yeah, I get it. This is really cool. So,
thank you.
Did you make any of these in real life, or are these all just like digital representations?
Yeah, they're all like mock-ups, and I'm actually glad that you said that's kind of the feeling you're getting, because the whole point of the project was for it to be a pitch. Like, we're pitching it to somebody to try to say like, hey, we want to do this convention. So very reassuring to hear you say that I was able to do that. But yeah, these are all digital mock-ups. Sometimes I do print them out just to kind of see what it looks like, but I feel like getting banners like this wouldn't be as easy as a small print. But I would love to be able to put something like at least the patch, because it is an embroidery expo, so at least to do a patch for it, which I might do because I do have an embroidery machine, so it's on my to-do list.
There you go. On that, Ryan, can you go back one? On this signage one, I really wanted to see that right 1/3 a little better. So you know, I one thing I might say would be, you know, if there was a way that I could click on a detail. I don't know if there was and I missed it, but that would be really cool, because I bet there's a lot in there, you know, in all those patches that would be super interesting to see. I know, you know, we all go through one phase at least in our lifetime where we collect patches and put them on things. I have one right on my desk right now that one of my students made for me. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Exactly. Yeah. See, it's underappreciated.
It is, yeah. And I put it on the back of a hockey puck so it's really fun. But no, I have you know, my students, a lot of my students really like this this kind of thing, and it's interesting. I think so many, over the years, so many artists that I've worked with, whether the design or illustration, have this kind of interest. Because there's something, you know, and if I can hanker back to my days as a psychotherapist, I would say there's something interesting about like the physical sensitivity of making art with your hands still. And I don't want to lose that as an industry. I think, you know, I still think there's some kind of magic that goes on between our fingertips and our brains, that they work together to make things that are interesting and innovative. And so I really appreciated this for that reason. And I think the main logo that we're looking at right now there on the upper right is really spot on too. You know, one of the things I used to rep calligraphers back in the day, and one of the things that I learned from them is one of the tests, when you do something with type like this that's out of like font ordinariness, is it immediate, right? And it's immediate. I saw Stitch immediately, and then all of the humor that Ryan, maybe if you could show us, Analisa had some really clever, smart text and copy all through this. And I do have a former student that is doing quite well. I'm not going to use her name or anything right now, but she mixes design, good illustration, and this sense of humor. And it's led to books and posters and all kinds of things for her, and she's crushing it with it. And I think, you know, sometimes it's nice and it's refreshing and it's non-threatening for an art director or an art buyer or an editor to see a sense of humor in the artist before they actually are working with the artist. So it kind of like, you go, okay, I don't have to be on my defensive when I get, because they're going to be really fun to work with. And that's part of what we offer to people, right? That you're going to love working with me.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm glad that I was able to give off that vibe, because that's how I would want to be, is that like, I can be serious and do my work when I need to, but in the end, like it's a lot of fun for me. Just designing in general is a lot of fun. Like I think Carla had mentioned before that like our homework doesn't feel like homework, and it doesn't. Like it's just fun.
Yeah, and it should be. It should be. Do we have time to look at the other portfolio? Ron? Maybe? He's panicking right now. He didn't know I was going to do that for him.
I got to pull it up real quick. I got to find it.
Okay, no, you're good. You're good. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're all good.
I do think that your pitch is the strongest thing I saw. It's really good, and I love it. And it demonstrating that you can take something like that, hand embroidery, and expand the concept to that degree, will tell potential employers and or clients that if you can do it there, you can do it other places too. And so I think it's a really nice piece for you to just get out there and get a lot of eyes on it. So congrats on that. That's really, really, really cool. So what are you what's your plan? I mean, I can push you on that because you're graduating in a month. So what's your plan? What are you going to do?
So actually in January, I'm currently in California in the LA area. In January, I'm leaving to Florida to do the Disney College program. So that's what I'm kind of filling in to do during my semester I have off before graduation. And then after that, just kind of seeing where I'm at. I would like to work for Disney in the end, and specifically designing for the parks. So that's the goal. That's the hope. But yeah.
We had when we opened in the middle of our careers, I'm talking about my wife and I have a company together. We were in Tampa, and I called on Disney a couple of times when I was down there. I never got any work from them directly. I think Disney produced this movie called Sideways. It was about wine country, and I worked on all the collateral for that. I think so. I'm going to say I did work for Disney. Anyway,
right? Yeah.
If you go, Analisa, there's a whole city underneath Disney World. That's where all the magic happens, is underneath. So you go down and you're under the park, and that's, if you work there, you might be in that area. It's really
cool. I have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I hope you can do that. Okay, let's take just a few minutes. I bet we're running out of time. Of these pieces on your website here, what piece are you excited about that you would want to talk to us about of these?
Probably the frosted like birthday cake, like the toaster pastry rebrand.
Yep. Yeah. So tell us what the rationale is behind this design.
So this was an assignment for one of my packaging design classes, and we had to redesign any brand we wanted to, and I ended up choosing Great Value because usually it's like the generic brand. And I wanted to take more of an illustrative route with it. Originally, instead of the illustrated toaster pastries, it was pictures, but I couldn't really find pictures that I was happy enough with, so I just ended up illustrating them in the end, and I was very happy with the result, because I don't illustrate too much with like gradients like that. Like it's usually just flat illustrations, but I had a lot of fun definitely experimenting with it on Illustrator.
That's great. And I think, I mean, this is more of a personal observation, but for me, I think the illustrations for me work well. We've all eaten one of these at some point in our life, or maybe hundreds of them at one point in our life. And we know what they look like and taste like. And I think when you made the decision to illustrate them, especially I think on the box that's in the very forefront, it's so successful. It's illustrated, but it's still graphic, right? And so it has this nod to what these things look like, taste like, and could be like if you had another option besides the one that we all buy all the time. So I think it's really cool. The chocolate one, the colors on that are really great. I think if there's one way you can hook somebody to be your friend forever or your client forever, in this case, it's like do good work with chocolate. And so,
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Yeah, it was interesting because I really appreciate it. And in the last session, I talked about a little bit. Stop there. Thank you. Go back. Yeah, there you go. One of the things I talked about is when I do art direction projects, I think one of the things I really want to see before I have this job relationship with someone that I'm going to work with that reflects on my career as well as theirs, right? And so I want to see how they think. And so to see you working with the different compositions and seeing these three, and then where you ended up and the decisions you made to end up where you ultimately did. Obviously, in the real world, these would be decisions that your client or art director or design director would be making with you, hopefully. It really informed me about your thinking or about your process, and so I really appreciated you putting these in. I hope you can continue to show the world how you think and give them choices, because I think that's a real plus for you.
Thank you.
Sure, of course. I think about, I'm going to switch to editorial speaking just for a minute, meaning magazines and newspapers. A while ago, when we were still working our way up through the food chain of clients, we started working for the Wall Street Journal, and they would call us at 8:30 in the morning, and the roughs were due by 11 o'clock. So you had just a couple hours, and and the deal was, leave that on. And the deal was that they wanted 4 distinct ideas. They didn't want 4 versions of the same idea. They want 4 distinct. And if you want to keep getting jobs from them, if you do that, but the pressure of doing that in a couple hours was so nerve-wracking, but so good for us in terms of conceptual thinking. Where you think and you get an idea and you go, oh, that'll do it. And then you go, no, let me go deeper. Let me go one step deeper. And you think, and you go, oh, how about this? And then you go, okay, let me do something this way. And art directors love that. On this, one of the things I wanted to mention on this, and I bet we're running a little short on time, but one of the things I wanted to mention about this, first tell us about it before I yap.
Yeah, so in my portfolio, it's just this right now. I still need to kind of add everything else, but it was pretty much doing a NPR newsletter. So we got to choose the pictures. We were given the type for it, but the main purpose of it was to see how we work in organizing the pictures and making sure that everything is still cohesive, and but there's also the hierarchy is definitely super important too. Absolutely. So I don't really do editorials like this, but so it was a nice change of pace to be able to do something like this.
Yeah, it really was. And I think you did a great job with it. One of the things, sometimes when you're a professor in an art program at a school, at a college level, you meet a lot of parents and seniors in high school, and you're talking to. And one of the things I always tell them to start thinking about is the skill set that you've demonstrated on this that I think is super important. And one is everything that we all do starts with an idea, and that idea is like the founding cornerstone of what we do. But then once you get the idea, then what? Then you have to come up with a composition. And when we think about, a lot of times we find ourselves in situations, I know we do, where the composition is image and type and page. And those are 3 elements that you have to make work together. And so I love the way that you showed on this, you showed a cover with some type and a photograph, but then you showed an inside spread, and in that inside spread, again, there's the composition of each article, the composition of that whole page, say the left-hand page there, and then there's the composition of the whole spread. And you showed us all of those things, and all of that needs to work together, right? And so all of you that want to be a designer, a graphic designer, whether it's children's books or magazines or whatever it is, those are the kind of things, even in comics, we have to think about that kind of compositional hierarchy and the individual hierarchy as well. Okay, Ryan.
Very well said. Everyone is also saying they're excited about the Disney College program in the chat. Another shout out to Nick Longo. Janet is saying the Stitch logo and branding and humor is great, which I know we kind of touched on, which is definitely a key theme of today's show. And then Homie Henny is saying that they like the thought process and implementation of sketches to full-on results in reference to the Strudel one. I loved everything that I saw. I think my favorite might have been Stitch, but I'm also biased because I like patches. One thing I will say is I know that when we looked at the editorial piece for NPR, you said that that's not something you generally do, but it was a good exercise. For when you're shopping your portfolio around to people, make sure you don't include it if it's not something you want to do. Because whereas it feels good to have a lot of work, especially if it's not the thing you want to do, just the way that luck works is they're going to ask you to do the thing that you don't want to do.
Right.
And then you have more work and then you add that to your portfolio. And then it kind of turns into this snowball. You're like, why do I have all this stuff that I don't like? And it, it's self-prophecy.
Yeah. That's a great point. Right. That's really great.
Okay.
All that is to say, thank you so much for being brave and coming on a live stream to go over your portfolio.
Thank you for having me.
Where can we find you online aside from AnalisaCruzDesigns.myportfolio.com? Do you have an Instagram or anything you like to update?
Yeah, I have an Instagram. It is AnalisaCruz.png. And then also I am on LinkedIn at Analisa Cruz.
All right. Well, good luck with graduation.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much. We will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right. And then there's just two of us. Thank you again for coming on and looking at all these student stuff. We're excited to see whatever comes next with you. I know you earlier said that you have an NDA thing that you can't talk about, but we will watch you online to see where you eventually can reveal what that is.
And it won't be long.
It won't be long. So thank you very much. We are pressed for time, so I'm going to have to cut you off.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
But thank you very much and talk to you soon. We'll be right back, everyone. We are going to be gone for about 3 minutes and 55 seconds to be exact. And we're going to come back with Carolyn Case, Emmalee Rixie, and Sergio Hernandez and for our third episode of the Professor Portfolio Reviews. So stay here and we'll be right back in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone, for our third episode of Professors Reviewing Portfolios. My name is Ryan Selvey. I won't be here the whole time. I will be kind of pushing the buttons back, and we will be pleasure to have Carolyn Case on, and we'll be looking at Emmalee Rixie's work and Sergio Hernandez's work. I want to say hello to everybody over in the chat during the live stream here. We're here with Cody Bear. We're here with Oliver Andrews, Robert Wenenberg, Asher Full, Reverb Mike. And then over on YouTube, we still have the homie Henny. We have Janet Bunday and Nora for all saying hello and welcoming comments in the chat. As we kind of go through all these things, please feel free to continue to put nice comments, constructive, kind criticism in the chat, and I will relay them to both our professor and our students, and we'll have a lot to go through. We're here for about the next hour. This is our last episode of the day for Professors Review Portfolios, but all three will be available as replays on YouTube and Behance in the event that you want to catch up on anything you missed. And we like to make it so it's re-listenable, so maybe you can listen to it while you're working on stuff and put it in the background. But anyway, it's good to have you here. Also, big hello to Andrew Hockrattle, who just joined the chat over on Behance. So our last professor for today is Carolyn Case. She is a immensely talented painter. She has a deep understanding of form and figure. She has been a teacher for like 17 years. She has been awarded full merit art residencies in both India and Vermont, practically the same place, right? And has been featured in places like Art Forum and Art Spiel recently. She's had several solo gallery art exhibitions all over the country, including New York, which was really cool to be able to go and see her and all the fancy art people going to be. I'm like, oh, I know her. But I'll also let her talk for herself and give her elevator pitch. So please give a very warm welcome to Carolyn Case. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited.
Absolutely.
I'm thrilled to talk to everybody. Oh, you got my portfolio up there.
Got your portfolio up. Is there one that you want to represent yourself best with? Maybe
you can do the pastels right now. I think that's my newest stuff that I'm working on. Yeah.
All right. So can you tell us a little bit about these?
Yeah, they're pastel drawings, which are done with chalk pastel, which is a little different than the oil pastel that's kind of like creamy. So these are just chalk, and I use a kind of interesting paper. It's a sandpaper almost. It's called Pastel Card, and it lets you kind of make more marks that are really similar to painting. And yeah, that's what I've been working on lately. And now I'm in the process of transferring them to canvas and thinking about them as paintings.
Yeah. So when you're working on a piece, well, I guess first things first, how big are these?
These are about 28 by 32. So not too big.
They're big. This is big enough. I mean, you also work in things where you like do basically an entire wall, but that's more of the oils when you're working with oils.
Yeah. When I'm working with oils, I'm often working like 42 by 75, 48 by 75, around that size. Yeah. So a much larger scale. And just, the pandemic, I got very involved with doing dishes and to-do lists, as everyone in the house, and that sort of ended up all in my artwork.
Yeah. The one thing that I know of your work very familiar is like you like to do these little dots, but this is the first time where you don't have a lot of the dots because you don't have the back end of the brush to then poke them all over. Has that been a difficult transition for you to not have something that I feel like is so present in the rest of your work?
It's been kind of a nice break. That those are like pretty labor intensive. So it's been nice to think a little quicker. And, probably everyone can relate to this too, when sometimes it's nice to work quicker digitally, and then you might work slower physically. And in a lot of ways, it kind of mimics that, where it's just like this fast thinking process.
Yeah. And I know that with a lot of these, like the process is such a part of the final product as well. I mean, it always is, but in your case, I know, I remember you telling me a lot about how when you're working on pieces, you're literally taking like a sander and you're sanding down parts of work that you've already had to kind of reveal previous parts. And I don't know, I think it's so beautiful. I think that they come up with really interesting compositions. One last thing before we bring in our first student is I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about your experience as a solo gallery artist, and then also your experience with having residencies and your relation with art, with like being paid and like supported to go and just create pieces of work. How has that been?
Residencies are amazing, and no matter what type of artist you are, there's all kinds of opportunities to join larger communities. And one great resource is the Creative Capital Organization, and they put out a newsletter. And I really encourage young artists to start thinking about how they can join whatever community makes sense for them. Residencies are fantastic because you walk away with lifelong friends, even though you may have only been there for 2 to 5 weeks. Also, most countries have residencies. So if you're thinking about, like, I was really interested in India, but I was like unsure of how to go or what to do. And so a great way to do that is to find a residency. Then you meet people from the country. You can travel in the country, and there's lots of different ones. It's a pretty amazing opportunity, especially if you're a student. Often you can get your institution to pay part of it or half of it, and because sometimes there's cost involved, sometimes it's merit. But there, a lot of times, if you get in, you can really talk to your institution to help out. Like, I know Micah pays for like part of a lot of them, and I know other institutions do too. And
I guess also one last thing to tack onto that too. Speaking of institutions in college, you've been a teacher for almost 17 years. I know you started up in the mid 2000s. How do you feel like that has impacted and affected your work?
It's for sure made me better. I remember just giving lectures when I first started teaching of artwork and being like, oh, that's really good. I need to be good. And the other thing that being in the classroom is such a positive place. You're encouraging people, you're seeing people grow, and that cheers you up. You're like, yeah, keep going, try. And, just being around people that are working in the same vein as you, that just gives you momentum and encouragement. And for me, it's been an incredibly positive experience. And I know it's just given me so many opportunities and helped me work so much. And I have charming students like Ryan here.
Well, to bring in another charming student, I'm really excited to introduce you over to Emmalee Rixie. She's our first student of the day, and we're going to take a look at her work, but I'm going to actually just bring her in and let her give her own elevator pitch. So I'm about to bring you on camera. Welcome to the show, Emmalee.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you.
A little about myself. I'm pursuing an associate's degree in graphic design from the Modern College of Design in Kettering, Ohio. That's pretty much it.
And can you tell me, I know you're pursuing this degree, but if you were to imagine, being plucked from school and put into your ideal situation, what are you dreaming about?
That's a great question. I plan on pursuing art education.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. And are you thinking about K through 12 education or?
Yes, but specifically high school level.
High school level. Okay. So you're thinking about maybe, a dream course might be AP graphic design or something like that.
It would be fantastic.
Okay. That helps me a lot. Yeah. I really enjoyed looking at your portfolio. Yeah. I thought I keep reaching for my glasses and they're over here. Okay. Yeah. Especially, I feel like the overall look of your website is very professional looking. Your photography looks really good. The images are nice and, well presented, and the backgrounds make sense for the objects on them. It just shows so much, care and responsibility, Yeah. So I think you should be really happy with that. And Ryan, could I ask a favor? Yeah. After you scroll through I really loved looking at your brainstorming.
Oh.
That was just such a joy for me. And I think I was looking at, maybe the service brochure. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about this as we click through and look through your brainstorming.
Yeah, so this was for my intro to graphic design class where we had to make a service brochure for a company, and I chose Andy Sharp, who's a graphic designer in Dayton, Ohio. I really just wanted to embody his brand and utilize things like reviews and use his slogans throughout the brochure.
Yeah. Yeah, this seeing your brainstorming was really helpful for me to understand how you're thinking. And you're a really organized thinker. Even your brainstorming is a nice, beautiful little grid. And that's something good to know about yourself, especially when you're trying to iterate or come up with new ideas, to have all of those little boxes ready to go. So I'm getting this impression. I feel like if there was 10 empty boxes, you would fill all 10. Yeah. And so I just want to encourage you to really keep that up, to keep that sense of play in your design. That was another thing. When I was looking at all your design, I kept thinking, okay, I know this person. I know this person's sensibility. They're like palette, they're how neat they are. And one thing that you might think about, especially going into teaching, is you might think about imagining branding or designing almost from like another person's perspective, just because so much of design is like by call. And also like I'm thinking about teaching when you're going to get such a diverse history, when people bring that to design, right? Like the reason I feel like I know you is because I can see it all in your imagery and things. Oh, and Ryan, could you show her business cards and the t-shirt, little A with the, yeah, I love that. I think it's down further. It's the 2 brown business cards. Yeah, that Auburn. Yeah. I loved seeing these too, because it was like, oh, okay, this is your brand. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And because I can feel this thinking in the other work that you did. Is that something you're thinking about?
Yes, I would say.
Yeah. And if you had to describe like this sensibility, how would you describe it?
I would say like I just like keeping things clean and organized and really illustrating the message I want to send throughout my designs. For both myself and clients.
Right. Yeah. So that's really clear in your work. And so one thing, especially because you're still kind of figuring out where you want to go, what you want to do, is I would try, and this will help for teaching. It's something that's helped me, is really trying to see the world through other aesthetics. As a teacher, I really need to understand, video game inspiration. I need to understand comic inspiration. And, I think thinking about maybe other lenses, almost ones that maybe you're like, that's not me, but thinking as a designer where everything is you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that could be helpful. And even, if you're out driving, picking up typeface, like just with your camera, just taking pictures of typeface and then trying to like iterate off them. So it's not like you're not trying to be a different person.
Right.
But you could kind of pull from broader sources and
like experimenting with different forms of design.
Yeah. I think, and it might even be because, you're the type of person who, what I'm seeing in your design, so I'm really reading into it, but a lot of times you can see a lot about a person in their artwork,
Yeah.
Is like, you're organized, like you probably get all your homework done on time,
I do, yeah.
Yeah, I can like feel it. But I think, so thinking about where a sense of play could come into your work, if you're, if you just could give yourself like 10 minutes before starting your homework and like you have 10 little boxes and that's like your warm up. So it doesn't feel like, I don't know, it doesn't feel purposeless, right?
Yes.
And then you just give yourself 10 boxes to kind of iterate. I think that could really help your creative process without feeling like you're just putting on someone else's hat,
Right.
you know? What other kind of courses are you taking?
Right now I'm taking like advanced web design and ethics of design right now.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. Have you watched the film Helvetica?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, this is only like design type like world. It's a documentary about typeface that is somehow exciting, I promise. But it would really piggyback on the ethics of design for you. So I don't know. It's something you could put on even while you're working and then just like listen to it. But it might really interest you. And you said ethics of design, and then the other one was web design, right?
And illustration. I forgot to mention that one.
Oh, illustration. How are you liking illustration?
It's interesting. It's style.
Okay. I feel like that was the polite version. And is it part of the maybe interesting part? Is that part like because you're being asked to do all these different styles, or?
I like that aspect.
You like that aspect. Okay.
For me, it's like sketching. I tend to skip that step and just jump straight into design.
You know, that's so interesting because too, that's what I was thinking when I really liked seeing your iterations, but I was like, oh, like the little magnet that you did. I was like, oh, but maybe you could do 5 of those so that they kind of change as you go.
Oh, okay.
You know, because a lot of times if you let yourself do something over and over again, you start to get to some surprises.
Definitely.
And I think that sketching part, if you can find a way to enjoy it, maybe if you just like limit the time that you do it, I think that would help.
That would help so much.
Yeah, just like, okay, set a timer, 20 minutes, you know? Yeah, and actually, Ryan, can you go back a little bit? I loved looking at these mood boards.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you know what? And maybe if sketching's not your thing, maybe at least even the mood board or working digitally where you are just giving yourself that set time to play.
Yes.
And, you know, I think the positive is like you're really responsible, you get stuff done, you do a really good job, right? And so that in that room you want to just ink in sometimes for failed experiments,
right,
that don't feel like you're wasting your time. You're like, and I don't know, is this something you've thought about before or you're thinking about?
I should actually apply it, just have like a creative break throughout the day, but I tend to just jump right into things.
Yeah, I think that's probably a really positive of your work habits, you know, jumping right into things and like wanting to get them done. And in my mind, I call this thinking, like I have 2 different thinkings. Like sometimes I have a house cleaning thinking where it's like, how much can I get done in this amount of time?
Yes.
And I call that house cleaning thinking, right? And then the other type of thinking is no rules, right? It's just mushy. You're unsure of where it's going to go.
Right.
And I think a lot of times, especially when you're in school, that can feel like a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I really think for you, it would be an awesome place to just see what bubbles up, generate ideas. And maybe you're seeing it in school. There might be some other students who do some things, but maybe they, you know what I mean? Maybe they lack getting it done on time, but sometimes they're more leaning in that other kind of thinking. Maybe you've noticed that.
Yes.
Yeah. And so maybe just like, it would feel better if it was kind of scheduled in.
Definitely. I agree.
Into your practice. Yeah. Yeah, this one's up. I really love this one too. Yeah. And you know what might be interesting for you too is as you're going forward, especially because you have such a really nice graphic kind of shape-oriented sensibility, is thinking about different practices that could help you develop those marks. Like when I look at this, it's really emulating kind of a wood cut or a linoleum cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, maybe another way to foster that kind of like different kind of thinking would be even learning a different practice.
I agree.
You know, you're going to probably have to take a ton of electives. So I think like a wood, you know, a printmaking one. It's printmaking is neat. It's organized. It's step by step.
Love that.
I know. I'm speaking your language, right?
Yeah.
And I think, but it's also, it has a physical element that kind of could let you think about other ideas.
Right.
That might really transfer into your digital work. Yeah, that would be some of my thinking for you. And that was the other thing I thought about, is palettes for you. Is I love that your Auburn media is like almost telling me what your palettes are going to be.
Very beige and
yeah. But I think too, even thinking about when that palette would serve you, and how you could be playful with the palette. Like here, in the Olipop, you know, you might find a way to like go really bright, and a way that you might want to think about this even is think about it seasonally, so you don't feel like you're going bright for no reason.
Right.
You know, Olipop, you definitely think of like summer and spring and, you know, vacation and those types of things, and the Kardashians, and, you know, so I think thinking about maybe time of day or season would again help you feel like you're picking a palette that's not just random, that makes sense for you. I don't know.
They did utilize their brand colors a little bit, so I didn't really like step out of the beige color palette. But
yeah,
that's kind of challenging for me, is using a lot of color.
Well, and you know, you might think about it as just one thing that might be helpful is to think about things that you like that have a lot of color. You know what, I don't know why I was thinking about this with the Olipop, but like that designer Lily, those Lily dresses.
Oh yeah.
Like, right? Like no one has a problem with those bright colors. Everyone's like, yeah, well, those are fine. Those are Lily, right? And I could see you. So I think maybe if you can find spaces where bright color makes sense for you, and it doesn't, I mean, what I'm sensing is like, and what I would never want to suggest is you just do something where that's not you.
Right.
But finding like, even, see, like in your mood board, you have some color, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. But thinking about where, like, I love that blue and that orange part. Right?
And it's very like summery and on brand for them. Yeah.
And so I think trying to keep, and do you take photos with your phone a lot?
No, I use my camera. But
you use your camera.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, well, your camera or your phone, I think it would be helpful for you just to start like brainstorming folders.
Yeah, like inspiration. Yes.
Yeah, because I think too, sometimes with the mood boards, it's like you already are limiting yourself because you're thinking of the brand.
Yes.
You know, and if you kind of start collecting collections of things that you love, then you can look at those and you won't be so limited by the brand.
Right.
There's another movie. I don't know why I ended up suggesting so many movies to you, but there's another movie called Beautiful Losers. And it's about a group of San Franciscan artists who, they kind of have this like skateboard art mentality, but they all become designers. And they kind of end up doing designs for clients. And then the clients slowly start to get used to their designs and they start liking their own work. So one of them did this really famous Pepsi ad with like the animated characters. It was like Olympic Pepsi ad. But I think the reason I was thinking about that for you is the more that you collect these kind of categories of things that you like,
Mhm.
the more you'll be specific to yourself when you're designing versus kind of riffing on the brand.
Yes, I agree. That's really good.
Yeah, I think just lean into being organized and neat and like clear, right? And
Yeah.
just keep finding this breadth of where you see that in the world. You know, it might even be like, you know, highway signage, anything that you can see that is clear or interesting typeface, that will help you. And did you like doing that gouache painting? I was wondering.
It was very new for me. It was interesting. I didn't hate it, but
I'm already unlocked your code about interesting, Emmalee.
yes.
Yeah, so that the gouache painting might fall under sketching, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think then it sounds like you like photography. Is that true?
Photography and like graphic design in general.
Yeah. Well, what I was trying to think is just how can you generate ideas without like prior to the product coming up, so that you kind of have this backlog of things that that you like, you know. But yeah, like I think taking photos of things that you find interesting or any typeface you can find.
Yes.
Yeah. You're in Ohio, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine there's like a range of timeline of typefaces that you might drive past on any given day.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think it would be great for you to start photographing them and then like iterating from them, just to keep timing in some kind of non-house cleaning thinking.
Yes.
In your process.
Yes.
All right.
I feel like I've talked a lot, but was there anything in particular you had questions about?
I don't think I have anything in particular.
Well, we have a lot of great comments in both chats. The Modern College of Design is in the chat over on YouTube, which is exciting. But also we have things from Homie Henny saying the mood boards are really good. Also AR Creativo saying wonderful job. Then over on Behance, of course, we have lots of questions about Helvetica. We have comments about your process and your sketching, which is, it's very cool to see all that and see that kind of, you know, find a way to manifest into the final piece. And I think it's really cool to see all of these laid out on together and how they relate to one another. But yeah, no, if you don't have any other questions, we just want to say thank you for coming on the show. And we're excited to see what's next. Where can we find you online?
My portfolio website, which is just like Emmalee Rixie, and then my Instagram is auburn.media.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you again. We're looking forward to seeing what's next from you. And good luck with finals or whatever when you got next month.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Great. So next up, we have Sergio Hernandez, which we're really excited about bringing him in. And I'm going to let him go ahead and give his elevator speech as well. And we've got about 25 minutes left to go over his work and what he has to share today. Welcome to the show.
Hey, my name's Sergio. I'm a first-generation immigrant student, currently a senior at the University of Central Florida, and I am pursuing a graphic design major.
Hi, Sergio. It's so nice to meet you. I loved your portfolio. Oh, my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. I mean, very impressive. Clearly seen your work. Wow. You know, you have been working hard, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I'm always curious about the same kind of question. All right, you're a senior. Someone's coming to you with your job. Where do you want to work? Like, what do you want to do?
I think the ultimate goal is to honestly be a freelance artist. I feel like I like so many areas of graphic design. Like I'm into poster design, editorials, even UI UX. So I wouldn't want to be limited to like one specific area. So I want the goal is to have a clientele where they know what I do and they come to me. They sort of.
Okay. Living the dream, right?
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe let's go through this a little bit. And I actually, I was thinking a lot about your portfolio, and I did pull up a couple images. So Ryan, probably maybe in a minute, I'll share my screen. Yeah, these are really, you've worked so hard on these.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a passion of mine.
Yeah, it's clear. It's evident. You know, you worked so hard, and I loved seeing these process shots. These really helped me a lot to see your thinking and to see, you know, how you're trying to put it all together in a really cohesive, organized way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think with a lot of my posters, like people only really see the final results. So it's kind of hard to tell what I really added. Like, what did I do? You know? So I like showing these process shots so they can really see like every single little detail that I put into these posters.
Yeah, and that you were not just taking something and altering it, but actually constructing something from the ground up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really appreciated that. And, you know, all of these pieces are really, they look very professional, and it's just clear how much you've worked on them, because you have such a variety going on in all of them, and you should just be really proud of all the work that you've done.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And yeah, like I love these. I love how they have a little bit of a Rizzo edge to them. Yes. I think that's really great. It's really great to see that up against the kind of, you know, heavy movie poster, you know, super CGI, you know, kind of feeling. So I really appreciated that range in your work as well. Oh, I love this M.
I'm always shopping at Marshall's, and like I felt they were a little outdated. I was like, let me try to modernize them just a little bit.
Yeah, the M, that would help them a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't circled so far back that Marshall's M is like doing it, you know? So I think they should talk to you about the new M. I loved it.
One day, that's the plan.
Yeah. Plus then you can get some credit at Marshall's, right? And I think the thing where I felt like I might be helpful, because you're ready to go. You've got this amazing portfolio, and the thing that I was thinking about a little bit is, look at all these screenshots. They're great. And maybe Ryan, if you can go back up to the movie posters. Yeah, these process shots. Oh yeah, like I love this. Also because I was looking at the originals, and you really do have a different feel to yours, but it's obviously in the world of it. And Ryan, maybe if I could just see the Namor, I'm probably saying the name wrong. I'm sorry.
No, that's right. Yeah, Namor.
Can I just see that poster? I think it's the one above it. Am I right? No, maybe it's.
I think it was the first one, the first page.
Oh, it's the first one. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Thank you. This is where I thought that I might be helpful to you, is because look at these, look wonderful. I love the compositions. I like all of the drama. I loved how the whales are in focus, but the birds are out of focus. Yeah. You know, it looks really great. Thank you. The thing that I thought that might be helpful for me is one thing that I noticed is in the space in the movie posters is sometimes the light is flattening the space a little bit. And this is like, so I really want to make sure that I think you understand. I think these are fantastic. I just think this is like, if you were working in a design firm, this would be like a small tweak, right? Is that one thing that I think could be helpful is to start to think about how color and value and color versus value and just light and dark could help. Because here's the thing, like I think about this a lot with the Game of Thrones finale.
Mm-hmm.
No one could see it because of it relied so heavily just on dark and light versus color.
Yeah.
And so there's ways, and they've really corrected that since that finale. Like often when you're watching, you know, very dark shows, like I was thinking about the Joker a lot, and I have a screenshot of that too. They're using color to separate the space so it doesn't collapse. Because the other thing that you're kind of really, you've got two obstacles in your field. When you send your work out, you have no idea what their monitor is set to.
Yeah.
And when you're working in this vein with the movie posters and they're so dark, most people have the monitor set to 50%.
That's true.
And it kills you, right? Because 50% does not work for this type of imagery most of the time. The other thing is, if any of these were to go to print, it's really hard to control the values when they go to print, especially if you've used any transparencies.
Yeah.
When you use the transparencies, they when they print totally different. I don't know if you've experienced that.
I think I've experienced that with a couple in the past. Like for table sales, I'll print out some posters, and like you can definitely see there's some parts that are just so much different compared to a monitor.
Yeah. So this small tweak, I think, might help you. Ryan, is it okay if I share my screen?
Yeah, sure thing. Go for it.
Okay. All right. Oh, wait. We practiced this, and now I'm going to have to try to do it. I think I hit present. Share screen.
Yeah, I think I could definitely benefit from some new monitors for these posters, because these are like older than me.
Yeah, and it wants me to share a tab, and I have an image. That's a problem. Yeah, so I think too, it will be easier if you can just get the work to work on any monitor, because most of the time you're going to be submitting this.
Yeah.
And when you submit, and often you'll be submitting it to an open call, and so it's a juror, right? And you have no control over if they are going to adjust their screen or not.
Yeah.
I mean, and once, if you are doing freelance, you might have more control over it, but initially it will be difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to, because I have an image of Namor where I think they're using the color really well. So I just wanted to show that to you. All right, I'm going to try again. Let's see. It really wants to. Oh, let me.
Yeah, it doesn't help. I actually have red-green color blindness. So.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah. So some people have been able to pick up on that when they see my work.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, you can still get around with the red brine, the red green color blindness. Just steer away from it. Just steer away from it. And Ryan, sorry, I have this image, but when I want to share my screen, it only wants me to share a tab. Should I just try to put it in a tab?
Yeah, you could put it in a tab, or it also sometimes lets you share a window.
Okay.
You can pick the window that you want to share for it.
Yeah.
While you're looking through that, though, I will do a few call outs for the chat, though. We have Janet Bundy saying, "Yay, Sergio, going for your dream and being true to yourself is creating your future." And then also, I know that people are really excited about the M for the rebranding. Cody Bear said, "A great rebrand." Uma Corn says, "Thumbs up for the M." And I personally just really liked the quote, "I'm always shopping at Marshall's." So that's the quote of today's streams, a highlight for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been really cool to also see in all of your works, if I enter my 2 cents, is also how you're playing with lens flares in a way that helps guide your eye around the image. It comes up in a different place, like between Daredevil, where you're kind of splitting it, and drawing attention back to his face here, or like when you're having these X's that kind of help add a little bit more weight around this horizontal, because obviously you had to add more visual interest as opposed to the vertical you have. And then also you also have it here. So I always think it's kind of a nice little follow through through all of your work to make it feel very cohesive, which is cool to see.
Yeah, I can't get this. I can't, for some reason, I'm having trouble with the screen share. But when I'm clicking my preview window, it won't let me do it. But I don't know why. If
there's something you can send over to me, I can always pull it up on my screen too. If you email it to me or something.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But I don't want to waste your time. So, yeah, and I have a Joker shot too. And so I'll try to describe what I'm talking about. If we go back to the Namor one, and let me see if I can just send this to you really fast.
This radial effect is really cool too. It's interesting how you have like the desaturated black and white to the blues and purples, and you're kind of telling a story through the gradient of like color to desaturation here. It would be cool to see that in some other pieces. I know that you have like a pretty uniform color for a lot of these, and that really helps tie it together, especially at the end. But it is cool, especially when you're creating depth and the idea of the color here from the top to the bottom and having it be differentiated a little bit more.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway, I'll remove myself and let you guys get back to it because I'm not a professor. So.
And actually, I'm just sending it over to Ryan right now, so it'll be easier if I can describe it. But a little bit what I'm trying to describe is instead of using just light and dark, because like in the Joker one, and sorry, I'm trying to email and do this at the same time. It's not working well. Okay, here we go. All right, I just sent it to you, right? Okay, so. Yeah, like, or even in the Namor one, can you see how the like little light dot on the figure in the back is pushing forward a little bit? And some of the water here, it's hard to tell that it's coming forward, but this water's back there. It just, the space gets just slightly compressed. Yeah. And like in the Joker one, which I love, some of the kind of flash bulbs almost press forward instead of sit back. Okay. And I think thinking about this imagery where it has to live on other people's monitors or in print, then those types of things can kind of get exaggerated and the space can collapse a little bit. I think if you can use just some color differences, it'll be clear. Ryan, were you able to get my email? Did it come through?
Yep, so I got it. I'm pulling it up real quick.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, and I'll show you exactly what I mean, because I know sometimes saying that means nothing. But and it's really, if you can, one way that would help you, especially with the red-green blindness, is if you looked at these in black and white, right? You just change the filter, and you notice that everything in the foreground is the same value as the background. It will compress your space. And then when it compresses your space, so here on this one, I pulled this up, so I was hoping you could see it. Can you see how it feels like the same value? Yeah. But it has an insane depth to it. Yeah. And partly is because of just this being yellow, and this might not, this is a greenish gray, so this might not appear like a greenish gray to you. But even if this was a purplish gray and it's a different color than these stripes, so then this doesn't get confused. And it also, can you see how even though these two skin colors are different, right? They really feel like they're in different places in space.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
Does it make more sense when you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just that would be something that would just make your work explode. I mean, really explode, because it looks so good. It has really good energy. Oh yeah, that's the Joker one. I pulled this up because again, I think some of it is in reaction to people not being able to see a lot of the new dark aesthetics on different monitors, different televisions, different types of things. and this is, definitely computer generated, right? That background, even though it's like supposed to not be.
Yeah.
Can you see how too, like the lights in the background, the building lights, how they're just kind of slightly dimmer and a different color than the lights in the foreground?
Yeah.
And then they don't compress, right? And maybe Ryan, if we could look at the Joker dancing.
Like the clip from the movie?
Yeah.
Or from the portfolio?
From the portfolio.
Oh, from the portfolio. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, the dancing between the two.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Let me hop back into that.
Yeah. And you must be working a lot. I don't know how you have time to shop at Marshall's.
Most of these posters, I did. They're actually some of my older work, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been trying to like branch out. Like, I love movie posters. Don't get me wrong, but like this year, my senior year and junior year, I was really trying to branch out from them and do some more, just different work. That's where like the Marshall's rebrand came from, the editorial stuff, and the stuff I made for my club. Just trying to like branch out.
Yeah, that's really smart. I'll just explain this and then talk to you about work.
Yeah.
But so a little bit, you can see how the lights kind of, if they're the same, they'll flatten it a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a small thing that I think you could bring to your work, but your work looks fabulous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really smart about branching out. I just met with 2 former students, and one of them was a painter and is now doing all of the design for the game Civilization. And he works for Fryaxis, and he just did it by teaching himself, about that world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And another student who's a graphic designer ended up working for a bank, again, just expanding their world. It's like the more that you have it in your portfolio, you will draw that energy, And have you started to freelance already?
I've done a couple of projects in the past. I currently have a client right now. He's like a very local filmmaker. So I'm just making a movie post for his film. But I started off as a traditional artist. I used to like do portraits for people, and they would pay me. But then in high school, I took a digital design class, and I just fell in love with it. And like past that, I just kept teaching myself more and more and more, just watching YouTube tutorials, and I got into Photoshop, and it was like never going back. I mean, I draw every now and then, but Photoshop is like where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go back. You can get so much done very quickly, and you can really iterate easily and make changes very quickly. So yeah, it's hard to go back. Well, what's the movie that you're doing the poster for?
It's called Freehold. I don't think I can say much about it because it's not like released yet. But yeah, he's just like a local filmmaker. I believe it's called Freehold.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just, can't encourage you enough to keep doing what you're doing. I mean, the work looks really excellent, and to keep thinking about, I like this too, putting in these editorials. And yeah, I think just thinking about like all the places you want to be, and keep designing for all those places.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in Florida, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Orlando, Florida.
Orlando. Okay. Yeah. So I think you have a lot of opportunities there for connecting with different people, working in different veins. Have you done any internships or anything?
Not yet. I'm hoping to get one for the spring semester coming up. And then I was offered one because I currently work at Target. It was like a managerial internship, not really a design internship. I was offered it. I'm treating it more as a backup plan in case I don't get a design one. But no internships yet, not at the moment.
I just can't encourage you enough to do that. I mean, it's just so important. And one thing I will say is like a lot of the places, they may not advertise an internship, but I would really encourage you to use LinkedIn and reach out and just cold email. It's fine. everybody does it, and see what kind of design internships, because your portfolio is ready. You have a strong skill set, you've got a range of material. I just really can't encourage you enough to get your work out there as much as possible and be in a working environment. I really think it would make a huge difference.
Yeah, and I really appreciated your advice, because like with my movie posters, I want it to seem almost like still shots from the scene. I don't want, like, I'm not a fan of the floating heads posters you see. So I think that really helped me really improve on them to make it more as if they're actual still shots, really show the depth.
Yeah, I think that also, this is my experience when like jurying things and looking at things, when you can show space with color, it just sets your work apart, because you get a lot greater depth. Also, you're not dependent on the monitor. And this, I don't know, I think this is fun, but this is probably just because I think I don't know if it's fun for everybody, but also, using color to show, not using transparency, but like using a mixed color to show light, so that it can be printed. That's another thing that you might want to like mess around with. Yeah, so for sure. I think thinking about that is important too. And just, too, if you think about these internships and being in interviews and being able to discuss that you're thinking about all these different things, it's just going to give you a lot of confidence. Yeah.
I think this would really help me push my work to like the next level, I think.
Yeah, you're ready. You're ready. Yeah. I mean, you got to jump in that internship game, I mean, it's just, I think, your portfolio is absolutely ready, and mess around with the colors, see if you can, and look at the movie stills, because they have a whole department there that just does color. And so they're great places to learn from.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last thing I will hop in to kind of ask about is with your experience, Carolyn, with packaging and creating things as applications for these different residencies, or like sending them to something when you're asking for like funding or money. Is there a way that you kind of package your deliverables to give to someone for a review that is different than like per se when you're like applying for a job? Or like, how do you have more than one portfolio that you kind of shop around, or like what can be taken for next steps for Sergio?
Yeah, I think that a really good idea is to, you want to have a couple different portfolios. So like if you're cold emailing somebody, you might just want to include 2 images in the email, because they might not click on anything. So you may want to say, and you want to make sure if you're reaching out to somebody that you really know why you're reaching out to that person, what that person does, where they went to school, while you're reaching, and then put 2 images that speak to the type of things that person does. And that's more of like when you're not applying to an opportunity, right?
That makes sense.
But you can totally, especially like if you're like, if you're basically asking for internship applications, that would be how I would do it. Just make it, nothing is clickable. Just, really explain why you're interested in that and put that in there. But then let's say that there is a call for internships or a call for something. You want to make it as simple and neat as possible. And, I love seeing the process shots, but for that type of thing, you would just want.
Yeah. I don't think I can show those.
Yeah. But you might want to actually have them on the ready. Let's say you got a Zoom interview.
Yeah.
You'd probably want to have those on the ready. So you could be like, because also they're, everyone's looking for flexibility. Can you iterate? Can you, if I come back to you and say, fix this, can you do that? Are you an open designer? So I think having those on the ready are very good, but like for an application, you'd want it to be like how you had it, this is this section, this is this section, this is this section in a PDF that can easily be opened by any computer, and really check it on other people's computers.
Yeah, I think that's something I have to start doing.
You really do. And often, I'm sorry to say, some people are just blowing through it on their phone.
No, I agree. No, yeah.
Yeah. So like email it to other people and don't tell them anything, and then ask them to pull it up on their computer or their phone and then see what it looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's a bummer, but you can't control that.
No, honestly, when I finish a work on my computer, I'll upload it to Google Drive, download it on my phone, and I'll be ready to post it on Instagram. And I see it, and I'm like, this is not what I just did. So I always end up having to like go back on my computer, edit it some more, look at it one more time, and I'm like, what's going on? So I actually end up having to like edit it on my phone just a little bit more before I post it on Instagram.
And you might try working with your brightness at 50%. Which you're like, no, but that will also push you to use more color versus just the dark and the light.
I agree. I'll definitely try that out. Thank you.
Yeah.
These are all great points. Unfortunately, we are at time. I did see over some chats. Reverb Mike was also suggesting doing some in-plane air painting to also play with the idea of value and depth. But everyone was really enjoying the things he had to show. And we're really excited to see what comes next, especially as you get closer to graduation. Where can we find you online?
Yeah, my Instagram is chief.serge. You'll find my full portfolio on there. I have so many posters on there and more than just what you saw here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have to check it out. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for being brave and having your portfolio reviewed live on stream.
Thanks for having me.
It. All right. Have a good one. All right. And then that's it for you and me. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And we look forward to seeing what you have also coming up next. And once again, Carolyn Case, everybody. And we hope to talk to you real soon.
Thank you so much. Bye, Ryan. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's it for our professor portfolio reviews for the day. Thank you to everyone that joined in chat, both on Behance and on YouTube. It was a pleasure having you guys. We will be back again on next Friday for some other themed things. It won't be portfolio reviews, but it will be Ryan Selvey producing weird back end thing. But I appreciate everyone for being here, and maybe stick around for some Max replays coming up next. Thank you guys for being here, and we'll talk to y'all real soon. Have a great weekend. Bye.